Because you've got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing or mine.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual slavery.
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everybody, to the 577th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse, a proud member of the Sports Social Network. You can find us wherever great podcasts are sold or listened to for free or streamed illegally, all of these things. I am your host, Matt T. Gianardo. With us today, Andy Patterson and Dez. We had a couple of weeks here that we're going to cover, but I think the one that is most important would be last night in Arizona with Bam Rodriguez stopping the incredible future Hall of Famer Juan Francisco Estrada with a smoking left hook to the body. But that wasn't before he had touched canvas himself in the fifth round, and in a fight that he had mostly controlled, putting Estrada on his butt, but there were some fierce exchanges. Estrada showed that he still got something there. He doesn't go down easy, but Andy, despite his calls that he is going to go for the rematch clause, I just think that he has run into a guy who isn't even at his best yet, and he's doing this. Bam Rodriguez, Andy, he is the legend killer.
It's looking that way, mate. He's got one to go as well. Yeah, it was impressive. I think I was just thinking there actually during that fight. Anybody apart from probably Rodriguez, and I know Estrada's been out for 2 years, but and obviously there's been maybe a week and pile up of injuries and that over his career, but I still think outside of Rodriguez, I think Estrada would have been competitive with anybody else in that ring there last night. Then he's fought Rodriguez, and you've just seen the guy get old basically right over the course of that fight. He had exchanges, he had his moments, but at the same time, even though he had Rodriguez down, it didn't seem to be hurt. I need to go back and look at the knockdown again for Rodriguez, because I need to see if he maybe stepped into the punch or stepped across it and maybe he was off balance, because he got up pretty quick. Didn't seem to be hurt or anything like that. And he turned up the heat after he got dropped.
Oh, I don't think he was hurt. I think Estrada just doubled up the jab, made him go straight back, and followed him with the right. It's just absolute veteran move.
One of the key things was, as well as I said, with Estrada having his moments, I just don't think he was having the absolute final word in some of those exchanges. I think Rodriguez hurt him, or certainly stunned him early in the first round, and then third round again, obviously got dropped in the fourth. there was instances where Rodriguez's left uppercuts to the body and then switching it upstairs was fantastic, because he was just teeing off with like ones and twos, upstairs. He was catching Estrada with his hands basically like defenseless really. Some of the footwork was incredible. I remember he stepped across Estrada at one point and hit him. I'm sure it was a right hook or a right uppercut at one point. And I said, it's just like when I'm getting dropped. It just seemed to like switch him up another gear. And he says, right, okay. I don't know if it was like he was showing him a wee bit too much respect or whatever it was, but he just seemed to right, okay, time to turn it up, and he did. The body shot that ended it actually is if he actually landed that same shot early in the 7th round, and I think Estrada obviously felt it, and then obviously the last two left shots he took to the body, and that was just brutal. Nobody does that to Estrada, or has done it to Estrada, sorry. So it is an impressive feat actually, because it's people can say, oh, he's been at the ring for 2 years and blah 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 whatever that, but at the same time it's the manner and how you go about it at the end of the day, and he went about that with a plume there last night. That was close to a beatdown as you can get at that level. It was something else. It really was. And to think, what is he, 23, 24? They're even
24.
talking about 24, talking about like, so obviously trying to get him up in weight. There's no rush obviously in that, but yeah, it's going to be like anybody else he fights going forward. Obviously, it's going to be downwards. Basically, it's no downwards. It's not going to be good enough for some people, because obviously he's beat these legends, and he's beaten them in impressive fashion. That unless he's doing that all the time now going forward, people are going to be disappointed, and he is going to have nights where he's going to have off nights. I mean, if you look back to his fight against Gonzalez, I mean Christian Gonzalez and Israel Gonzalez, 12-round decisions. They were easy, they were wide wins and they were easy wins. But you think, like, okay, he's fighting maybe a level of opponent below him, but then when he ups it against Edwards, against Estrada, against Quadras, against Rungvisai, it just shows you what a special talent he is. And
Rodriguez and Teofimo definitely have some similarities when it comes to rising to the occasion and owning it.
One thing I noticed as well is between some of the interviews I've noticed with Rodriguez is possibly maybe considering maybe how he kind of blows up in weight a wee bit. I think he kind of looks a bit kind of round about the face. So hopefully that's not an issue going forward. But yeah, man, the guy has got it all. He has really got it all. The footwork, the timing, the movement, the punch placement, the power. He's got it all, mate. As I say, he's okay. He got dropped. It happens. This is the elite level of the sport. Shit like that happens, So he got up, he dealt with it like a boss, and that's all you can ask.
Yeah, it's you got knocked down by Juan Francisco Estrada. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, he's one of the finest fighters of his generation, and he might be at the end of it, but I don't think he was entirely past it. Des, this was a hell of a performance, and you're going to go total boxing nerd here. I got to say, at this point in time in boxing, Rodriguez has got to be top 5 best feet in the sport.
Yeah, and possibly top 5 boxers known how to fight in the pocket. Bam can stay with you, and Bam can go with you. He's got really good ring IQ. He's got fantastic movement, and I can't really top what Andy said, because he nailed it there, and he gave Bam and Estrada all the plaudits they deserve. Let's talk about Estrada for a moment, and let's give him the respect he's due, because he's a 2-weight world champion. This is a guy that's beaten everybody that's ever beaten him. So he went in there knowing no one's ever properly beaten me and got away with it. Bam properly beat him last night. And we're talking about Estrada, the legend killer, who's probably beaten one of the best smaller weight fighters of my generation. Estrada was live, and he fought like a live opponent last night. But Bam was just so good. Bam's got a brilliant IQ. He's got fantastic punch variation. He works really well in the pocket, and he's so effective as a southpaw. He's heavy-handed, yes, but he has brilliant technical ability. So he throws his punches so correct, and that has to add a bit more spite to his shots. Really, the things I love to see. Bam got to Estrada in round 6. Estrada got to Bam in what was a Kronk-like right hand. He threw it from the back of the hall and he caught Bam right at the end of his shot. And Bam went over and he got up smiling and shaking his head. And Bam got to him in the next round and put it to Kip. Bam's one of them guys, he can hurt you with his left hand, his right hand, and now we know he can hurt you to the body. I'm a big fan of Rodriguez. I go back to the last fight with Sonny Edwards. I always thought Bam would beat Sonny, but I thought Sonny would fiddle him around. He couldn't fiddle Bam around. Bam dismantled Sonny and gave him a really good hiding. And I know how awkward Sonny Edwards is. The last 2 fights have really confirmed to me, cemented Bam's place in top 10 pound for pound boxers and correct best feet and best pocket know-how, top 5 in boxing at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely a special fighter, and those pound for pound credentials are starting to become more and more apparent. And that body shot that he finished off with, I mean, he just whipped that thing in there. That hurt my organs just watching that. Estrada, as tough as they come, tried to get up. He just couldn't at the end of the day. Andy,
I'd like, sorry, Matt,
sure,
before you ask Andy,
sure.
I agree with Andy. I don't want to rush Bam because he's at a lovely age. And if we're going to keep him at if he's a super flyer, I hope he can keep his weight in check because this kid's got it. And he's in the right part of America. He's got a great cultural attachment. He fights really well. I'd love to see him stay at Superfly, almost be the Inoue of the Superfly division. And let's not force him or rush him just yet. And I hope Bam can keep his weight stable because we're looking at something very special here at this weight class.
Well, and I wonder what it is above. They already mentioned him going up to 122 to fight Inoue, and you know they're just kind of in passing. But Andy, he first has to get through an Estrada rematch first. Do you see it going any differently than this one? I just feel like Bam is too young, too strong, with too many skills. I mean, it's kind of like when he fought Chocolatito at for the first time, and it's just what separated him was just that little bit of footwork. But that was 12 that was 12 years ago. I mean, you're talking a guy with this foot speed and movement that's rough on mid-30s legs. It's tough to say it going a different way.
Yeah, another thing as well is you would probably say, I mean, even what is he now, Strada, mid-30s, late 30s?
34 or 35. It's got to be 34 or 35.
Yeah, and he's obviously fighting a bigger kid as well at the end of the day, and he's only going to get bigger. You know, this is the thing, and you're saying he's powerful, fresh, hungry. There's only so long you can actually kind of like go to the well. Actually, the Strada's had a long career. Had some tough fights himself. He's had a lot of injuries in that as well. You're talking about Inoue. I know he's been mentioned, but I think Rodriguez is looking at the winner of next Sunday's fight against Martinez and Ioka, I think it was. But just on another side note, actually, I'd noticed during the week, and I don't know if I need to follow up to see if this is actually happening, but Roman Gonzalez is meant to be fighting in Nicaragua, I'm sure, on the 12th of July. Mm-hmm. So I need to see if he's actually got an opponent or anything like that. But would you want to see it? I mean, obviously, you're asking about Estrada. I mean, at this point, he's got a young family now. He's made his money. Does he really want to go in there? You know, again, I don't see it changing much. To be fair, I thought Rodriguez would win, obviously, but I did think it would have went the distance. And the problem is with those scorecards. Sorry, just to come back to it. You look at that fight on BoxRec, for example. You look at that, you're saying, "Oh, that looks like a close competitive fight." Nah. That was, as I say, that was a beatdown, and that the judge had the first 3 rounds going to Estrada.
I didn't even catch that.
Oh my dude! I look. There's been instances when I've been at ringside for fights, for example, or been close to the ring, and you're seeing a competitive fight, and you're saying, I don't know, that's a close round. You know, and you can maybe your scorecard could be off because you're seeing it differently. You've only got that view at ringside. You haven't got the TV. You haven't got the different angles for when the fight's going on to actually see what's actually happening. But there was none of that. okay, there was moments, as I say, in that fight where Estrada had his moments where he was landing shots, but Rodriguez was having the final answer in most of those exchanges, barring that knockdown. I think, at least, and that was close to an absolute shutout, barring that knockdown for me, for Rodriguez. So I just don't know what that judge is talking about, or watching. Sorry, another one is going to a draw. I mean, come on, that's seriously even bad as well. But the guy I had Estrada up winning, that's just that don't invite him back.
Oh, he'll get a nomination later then. Keep that name in your back pocket, Andy. Yeah, so...
Oh, goal! Georgia!
So, anyway, Gonzalez is going to be fighting Robert Barrera at bantamweight on the 12th in Nicaragua. So, if he comes through that, I don't know. How much interest do you have in that fight, Des? Say Chocolatito looks good. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he looks good, he looks sharp, maybe even takes this guy out at a weight class, really a 5'3" guy who has no business being at the end of the day. Do you think that Bam against Chocolatito, does that still have some intrigue in your mind?
Not for me, no. No, not for me. I think, look, Gonzalez has got to get, I think it's on the 12th of July, he's boxing. So I don't know if that's next week or the week after. So Gonzalez has got to get through that. And Robert Barrera has been brought in to bring Gonzalez back. But there's no guarantees. And we don't quite know what Roman has got left yet. So I don't want to see that. And I certainly don't want to see a legend, one of the best little guys of the last 20 years, going in against a guy that can slaughter you. Much like I don't want to see Lomachenko win with Tank. I know that's not the ending I want for Gonzalez. So no, I've got no interest in that fight. You asked Andy the question, what does Estrada do next time with Bam? I don't think there's anything Estrada can do with Bam. Last night, very quickly, Estrada became the counter puncher in that fight. And he was trying to catch and throw and catch Bam out. The problem is Bam's got such a good IQ. He's so accurate. And as I said before, he's really comfortable in the pocket.
I mean, Estrada and Gonzalez have traded leather before, but I've never seen him touched that easily by any fighter.
The thing is, I think the other thing is as well, Des, is Estrada looked like he was doing everything just to remain competitive in that fight.
Correct. Yeah, he was, and that's what I got from it, Andy. Very, very quickly, Estrada become the counter puncher. Now, this is an elite Hall of Fame fighter, and he's sort of from Mexico, and he sort of found himself in a place where I've got to work in gaps here, and it was uncomfortable to watch at times because Bam was so dominant. I agree. The judging was awful, and the cards were terrible. I'm not quite sure Estrada at this stage in his career, because that's got a part to play as well. You know, when Estrada caught Gonzalez and when Bam's caught Estrada, it all plays its part in the bat and change of boxing. I don't think Estrada could do anything with Bam if they fought again, to be honest, Matty.
Yeah, I get that feeling too. And I'm a fan of both guys. I've always liked Estrada. For me, I kind of felt his style was very Marquez-esque. And if there's one little question I've had in my mind about Estrada, saying what if, I wonder what if he had been trained by Nacho Beristain, because he has so much of that Romanza Gym style about him. I just kind of wish he'd gone over there and polished it. Do you guys feel that at all? Any thoughts on that? What he would have been like under Senor Beristain?
It's a great bit of knowledge, Matty, and I'm glad, impressed you picked that one out.
The way he throws that right hand, it's so fucking Marquez-esque. I mean, my God.
Yeah, and Nacho's not going to make you a worse fighter. Did you know the reason why he wasn't with Nacho?
I think he was from a different part of Mexico. I think it might have just been a geography thing. And the one thing I'll say about the Mexican people for sure is they're incredibly loyal. So they don't hop trainers a whole lot, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. No, I don't think Nacho's going to hurt you. But again, I mean, maybe we're trying to reinvent the wheel. Estrada's had a career and a good career. I mean, you said it on his intro. He's a Hall of Fame fighter, first ballot. He's a 2-weight world champion. This is a guy that's beaten everyone that's beaten him. He's got the Lennox Lewis's about him. He doesn't go away. But last night, again, it's the bat and change of boxing. I just think he's caught Bam at the very wrong time to catch a Bam Rodriguez. Bam is a very good fighter who does so many things really, really well. He's going to catch a lot of people out, Bam. He's that good.
Yeah, and I'm curious where his ceiling is, who he might run into that gives him a real fight. I think him against the winner of Ioka Martinez is a fantastic fight either way. It'd be interesting to see it be Ioka, because that is, people who really follow the lighter weight classes. That guy is another legend that still fighting today.
Is that the Japanese kid that's a world champion?
Yeah, I mean, Ioka. I mean, he won titles at 105, 108, 112, and 115. He's fan, or maybe
he's a current world champion at Superfly though, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's got the belt. Yeah, and that's a good fight. I like the Martinez fight because I think the chemistry between them two will be brilliant. I think that they're the fights we want to see from Bam, and if we can keep him at Superfly, I think we're preserving Bam's greatness for a bit longer as well.
Yeah, and it's, and if he does want to move up over the next 12 to 18 months, there is a path. Well, actually, Andy, did the other Inoue brother lose his title this recently?
Takumi.
Yeah. Or was he just in a close fight? I'm trying
to... No, he won that.
WBA champ, wasn't he? WBA champion, isn't he?
Yeah, I think you're right.
He boxed really well, mate. He got put over very early, and he's his best performance. He got off the floor and put in his best performance.
There you go. That's yep. He got dropped. That's right, and then he came back very well. So yeah, I mean, there's a path up to making that fight.
I was going to mention as well. I mean, obviously, if you look at Estrada's last, was it 2 or 3 fights? He's been weight hopping a wee bit. Superfly, fly back to Superfly. Obviously, he's got the belt. I don't know if he's still got the belts at flyweight actually. Remember, the Sonny Edwards wins. He won his IBF belts. I don't know if he's still got those.
I think he ditched those. Rodriguez.
He ditched them, so he's probably going to campaign at 115, and but obviously the calls are going to call now. I'm just trying to kind of pull up the ranks here, just trying to get them side by side here. 115. There's not really much in terms of, obviously you've got Gonzalez. You could probably say his best days are behind him. David Jimenez for Costa Rica, good.
I looked at Jimenez. Yeah, I looked at Jimenez. I think that would be a good fight for him as well.
So he's a good counter puncher, but he's a fight he wins as well. I think he probably gets to him late, or definitely wins a decision, definitely. But I think Jimenez has got enough about him to kind of maybe ask a couple of rounds about him, possibly.
It's a worthy fight, at least for for something along the way.
Now up at 118. Nakatani at 118. That's a fucking monster of a dude, by the way.
Yeah, Nakatani is going to be fighting in a few weeks, I think. I think he's on the schedule for like the 21st or something like that of July.
I think if you're going to keep the Rodriguez bandwagon going and keep him in Arizona, I think the cultural chemistry between Jimenez or Julio Cesar Martinez, I think that really works. I think they're two really good fighters.
Martinez has been banned.
Oh, what banned from America?
No, he's been banned. He's been banned for boxing, mate. He's PEDS. I think it was.
He tested positive. So yeah, Nakatani's fighting Vincent Austrolabio, who that's actually a decent fight, and that's going to be on the 20th from Tokyo. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. But speaking of Sonny Edwards, I
got Des.
Say that again.
He got a 9-month ban for Nevada, so I'm assuming he's maybe been I'm assuming that just means he's been banned in Nevada. Doesn't he mean to say he's been banned for America, possibly?
Yeah, I mean they're good at getting around that, aren't they, with the state thing? I mean, Matty will talk more about that, but they're pretty good at transferring, bans between one state and another.
Yeah, so and it's 9 months. It's so fucking meaningless.
Yeah, but his fight's got changed to no contest as well. He's diuretics, possible masking agent. So that says a lot.
I think that fight fucked up one of my parlays. Hey, DraftKings, pay me.
Did you ever hear that Andre Ward story told about Martinez, where he had right? So he's in Mexico. He has a fight in a bar, and he puts the guy in the hospital, so he gets arrested. He goes to jail, has a fight in jail, puts the guy in the infirmary, gets out of jail, has a professional fight, and wins that. Andre Ward said he went 3-0 in 1 week.
Might have been a literal cab driver in there somewhere. But you mentioned Sonny Edwards earlier. I guess that's a decent enough segue here. Edwards, I'll tell you what, guys. I watched a debate. We're not going to get into it, but I've seen a lot of lying in the last handful of days. And Sonny Edwards and his claims that he wanted to fight on through that cut, that's about as much bullshit as anything else that I've heard. Andy, he was just that cut. It was dripping into the eye. I don't know. I kind of thought they gave him an easy way out, and I kind of thought he was starting to huff and puff a little bit there. I thought Curiel might have had a little bit for him there towards the end.
To be fair, mate, I only caught the highlights of this. If you've seen the Sonny Edwards fight, you know how it goes usually. Yeah, it was a horrendous cut actually. I mean, I think the way it kind of come down, it kind of come down past the eyelid and that as well. So yeah, it was a horrible cut to be fair. So yeah, he was winning the fight comfortably for what I seen it. To be fair, mate, going to take some time out, but I think we've got to be realistic in that as well. With Sonny, he's remained at a weight for a long period of time now in terms of like being at a flyweight. I think it depletes him a little bit. I mean, you're saying there he was kind of huffing and puffing a wee bit. Possibly it's done it the weight. It doesn't really always look great trying to make that weight and that as well. So, but that cut is going to set him back a fair period. I would think that is a horrible one actually.
That's going to take some stitches.
Yeah, but it's also going to take a wee bit of healing in that as well. And you just don't know how the scar tissue is going to hold up after that as well. Because as I say, that's coming from just part of the forehead, down part right over the eye. The eyebrow and down into underneath it a little bit, I'm sure. So it's bad. And the thing is as well, you talk about like say the other thing as well, the huge gaps in class. Edwards just showed it. Really, I mean, when he's fighting guys like that, he does what he wants, really. So yeah, look, we move on for that one. I'm assuming he's talking about Gallia next, possibly.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, Des, I think you might have caught a little bit more of the action, Andy. I thought that Edwards, I mean, he won the first 6-7 rounds probably very cleanly, looked very good doing it. He was showboating a little bit, absolutely sharp. It was classy boxing for sure. But Curiel started to come on, and he was definitely finding himself down the stretch. He probably would have needed the stoppage in order to get out of there. But, Edwards, again, he's been at that weight for a while, and come to find out he's smoking cigarettes as an appetite suppressant. I think that cut kind of saved his ass, because I saw a very noticeable shift in the last couple of rounds of that fight.
There was a change in the tide, but I think it was an awful lot of variables here. I think Sonny had won the first half. I think Curiel had then decided to press Sonny, and of all the fighters in the world, Sonny's the guy you can press because he's absolutely not a puncher. No disrespect to him, he's got other skill sets. So I think Curiel realised, I'm the home fighter. I'm the one with the links to the crowd. I've got to make something happen here. And also, I think at the same time, that was an awful cut. That was a zip cut. So it was coming. It was wide open, and it was pouring into his eye.
That was an ugly head clash that caused it. For sure,
it was awful. Yeah, it was. And I think the head clash was round 6. So Sonny had, was comfortable up to that point. And it all coincided with Curiel thinking, I've got to put my foot down. The cut to the eye, Sonny not quite knowing where this would go. In terms of the fight itself, I like this sort of fight for a British kid, and it's got a Mickey Duff feel about it. This is what he used to do. He used to send his good fighters out to places in America to get them on good cards against reasonably good opponents, where you're in the away dressing room and you can't switch off tonight. And I think if Sonny looks back over his career in years to come, he'll probably talk about this fight and say, I learned a lot in Arizona on Saturday because I had to travel, I had to acclimatise, I had to be the away fighter. I went against a kid that he had an attachment to the crowd, and there was there was almost like he had to try something the second half of this fight. I got a bad cut. I dealt with it. To be fair to Sonny, I never once see him complain. I never once see him gesture to the referee. He did kind of look like he was getting on with it. But I think at that point, when a fight has been that badly cut, I think it's a case of, I don't want this to be a blemish on my record. So I think Sonny was probably glad it went to the cards. And the judges had it 90, 82, 88, 84, 87, 85. So they all saw it for Sonny Edwards. And I think that was probably just the right time for Sonny to cut out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he definitely got a heavy round of boos from the very pro-Mexican crowd, the crowd there for sure. But
and all of that will make Sonny feel better. It's nice to be the bad guy sometimes. It's nice to get away with one. And I think Andy might know a bit more about the cut, but if it's somewhere stops above the eyebrow and it's avoided any soft tissue area around the eye, that could be sewn up, and hopefully it won't impede Sonny's career, we hope. But I think as he looks back on his career, I think that night in Arizona, Sonny can talk about it and say, I learned an awful lot. Even as a 5, 6, 7 year pro and a former world champion, I learned nuances to boxing last night.
Yeah, he might be the better fighter coming out. You know, I always forget that Sonny's not old. He's not even 30 yet. He's just kind of been around for a while. It seems, bouncing in the lower weight classes.
My only issue with Sonny, Matty, is, and I don't know what Andy thinks, I don't quite know where Sonny goes because he doesn't punch at flyweight. I mean, he don't punch at light fly. So I think there is definitely a ceiling because the blueprint was set by Bam. This is how you get to Sonny. And I'm not quite sure if he's got much of a ceiling, knowing he's not much of a puncher. And I say that respectfully because he's a very skillful kid. He'd probably win an Olympic gold medal
he's kind of the British Yvonne Calderon, I guess, Des.
Correct. Yeah, that's it. We've said that a few times. Absolutely, mate.
Yeah,
I think the Gallia 5 fight probably makes sense at this point. I need to go and check some of the rankings because I think you've got Gonzalez and Rodriguez Jr. in there still in the top two. But if Eddie can somehow get your fight and Edwards as some sort of final eliminator, or I can't mean if the WBC title's vacant at one, I think it will be vacant actually. So if you can somehow get that wrangle for the vacant belt, it makes sense. It absolutely does make sense.
It does.
To get Edwards against your fight.
And it's bringing you home. It's domestic. It will sell, and that's a worthy card that's a worthy fight on any card in the country, isn't it? So that I think that makes a lot of sense as well, Andy.
Probably it's probably a fight you could probably make in London and probably and in Birmingham possibly in that as well. So either.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, that fight can make money over there. No problem whatsoever. Joining us now on the call and at a fairly early time, Mr. Rappin' Rob Kelly. Rob, we've only been over the Estrada fight and the Edwards fight, so feel free to get your piece in on those, sir.
He's only in early because he's fucking raged in the English one.
I know, yeah. It was a plan of me victory dance.
95th minute, man, you hoochie bastards.
They'll go soon. It's better the longer it goes for them. You know that way. Then when they get knocked out, it's
one of the Toblerone men.
It was fucking hilarious though. They do that. They were slaughtering Southgate out. They were writing this obituary, and it's been so good for England, but this just has not been good enough. And then it's like Gareth Southgate leading us to fucking pricks anyway.
If anybody wonders what the chat is like after we get off the podcast, it's this. Just put in Rangers and Celtic, right? That's how it all works, right?
Oh, that's great.
Sometimes
if there was ever an Englishman that was born with a shamrock in his hand, it's Gareth Southgate.
Gareth Southgate. There's a few of them half the team.
Southgate loves the raw, man.
God. Anyway, fuck's sake. No, I saw the Rodriguez-Estrada fight, and brilliant fight. I thought it was a bit of a shedding up until Estrada was matching him obviously like as well as he could, but I think it was like just a younger, better version. A guy at the absolute peak on a guy, that owes the sport nothing is probably on the downward spiral. Like, but Rodriguez, like, as usual, like the technique, he's moving around, he's picking his shots, he whips his fucking body shots in like a bullwhip. And even when he shipped the shot, I didn't think I think it was the 6th round he got dropped, and it didn't look like he was, in danger of getting knocked out or anything. But it just goes to show you, like, you switch off for a second against class operator, 1-2 down the pipe, and you're gone. But I thought, like, the way he put the shots together, the selection of uppercuts, it was just. I actually think the body shot probably saved Estrada from a worse stoppage down the line, because he was just fighting him all the time, and he's like the great fighters, like, he puts you where he wants with his feet. Like they talk about it in football or whatever, about left-sided footballers and all, and like the good players put you where you want it, like the good fighters put you where you want it too. Like you see it with Usyk, you've seen it with Golovkin over the years. You've seen different fighters with different styles of footworks, like your Ray Leonards or Mayweather's will walk you onto something. Like a lot of this time, footwork is understated, and he's got that kind of Usyk style, that kind of Lomachenko style of getting around and just whipping shots in, like, and he's heavy-handed as well. Like, it's probably a pity for him that he's a flyweight, because if he was about 4 stone heavier, he'd probably be worth 4 times the money, like, because people will be coming out in their droves to see him. As it is, the flyweight division is a bit of a niche division in boxing, and the little guys never really get the big acclaim. But in terms of ability and exciting fights, Rodriguez is the man to watch. Like, I didn't see the Sonny Edwards fight. I saw highlights of Teofimo. And I think he has trouble fighting down the levels, doesn't he? Like, I think if he's fighting a guy that's a real danger to him, you see the best of them. If
We
not,
haven't even got there yet, Rob. You hold
Cool.
your horses.
Well, I might have to jump off there for a little while and get back on there, so I came on early. So I just
thank you.
Get that one off there.
Fantastic. Yeah, hopefully we'll get to see you a little bit more down the line here. That want to get some more on that. Some more on that Estrada card, and this is, I swear to God, the guy's name on his trunks is Cardenas. But anyways, Arturo Popoca keeps his undefeated record with a majority decision over Danny Barrios, who was also coming into that undefeated. He was the hometown guy, yet it was Cardenas or Popoca being cheered towards the end, and a lot of people who were watching the fight that weren't in the crowd thought Barrios got the raw end of it. This seemed to be one of those situations where a fighter was able to gain the respect and then gain the support of the Mexican crowd by being the come forward fighter, eating shots, refusing to go down. Did you guys catch this fight?
Sorry,
yes,
mate.
I did, Matty.
Go ahead, Des.
Well, you pitched it nicely, exactly right there. Barrios was the home fighter and the crowd favourite, and I've got to call him Cardenas because that's what was on the feed I was watching.
Jesus Christ, Boxrec, you're fucking with my head, making me think I jumped timelines. What the hell?
No, so Cardenas was very tight. He was upright. He had a high guard. He was constant. He was persistent. And Barrios had quick hands. He was flashy. He had that sort of, that I'm better than you sort of persona, and he looked the slicker fighter. But he's not a puncher. Neither's Cardenas. But after about 6 rounds, Cardenas wouldn't go away. He was very persistent, and the crowd kind of fell in love with Cardenas. And they'd seen enough of Barrios, and it was time for Barrios to do something else. Show us what else you've got, because we've seen this play. And Barrios didn't show us anything else. If anything, he might have dropped 10, 15%. And that spurred Cardenas on.
It had to be very, very disheartening for him to land so many sharp left hands and not be able to budge the guy, though. I mean, I can't think of very many guys who would have stood up to that many clean shots.
But he's not a puncher, is he, Matty?
Doesn't
Barrios.
seem to be.
No, he's not a puncher. And Cardenas is tough. And again, there's a cultural identity to the fighters in the crowd last night. And we say about Mexican fighters when he had a point to prove. And I just felt that coming into round 6, if Barrios could have put his foot down, if Barrios could have been a bit more spiteful with a bit more intent, and this is what I'm going to get to, I think he might have got Cardenas out of there. But what I noticed in the championship rounds, Barrios pretty much done things that the crowd didn't like. Like, he went for long walks, and at one point he even kind of run away from Cardenas, almost like, I'm not going to engage. Now, of course, the crowd's booing that. And in close rounds, you don't quite know how the judges are going to go. That might be enough for them just to put a tick next to Cardenas' name, because they've got the crowd booing him and now they're cheering Cardenas every time he throws. Me personally, what I got from that fight was Barrios is probably the more technical fighter, the more skillful fighter, has got a lot more moves in his locker, but he didn't have a plan B, or he didn't have to step on it after round 6 or 7 if your opponent's still coming forward. And that's exactly what happened last night. In the championship rounds, I think he gave a few of them rounds away. And the first half of the fight is pretty much what you're looking for. The judges had it 95-95 even, 97-93, 96-94. Barrios never won a card on it by any judge. So it was almost unanimous for Cardenas, and I kind of went that way as well. I was sort of thinking at the end of the 12th round, you've probably nicked this now.
Well, and I thought that Barrios, remember it was over 10, but remember I thought that he probably just won the first 5, and then I thought he probably had an argument in there for winning one of the rounds where he was moving and boxing late too. I almost feel like the crowd, who should have been in his corner, persuaded the judges into going the other direction.
That's what I got, and you know, I just felt the first half of the fight is pretty much what you go for. And no doubt about it, Barrios started quicker and more flashy and looked a better fighter. But the second half of the fight, and in them, particularly them last 3 rounds, last 3 rounds, should we say, because over 10, I thought Barrios didn't do himself any favours, not with the crowd and possibly not with the judges.
Well, and he's suffering the consequences today because, I mean, all he really needed was one round where he bit down on there, and he would have at least had the draw. And it was there was entertaining enough moments. I mean, it's almost surprising to me how quickly that crowd shifted on him, because when he was landing those left hands down the pipe, they were all behind him. I mean, just like almost on a dime. I've almost never seen a crowd turn on a fighter that quickly before. That was a little surprising. So let's see here. Also on that card, Yemelith Mercado with a win over Ramla Ali in a fight that was wider than I think most people who took the time to watch it saw it. Ali actually held her own, but I do think she lost. But apparently has a ceiling, failing to pick up 122-pound strap in the process there. And also Gabriel Murataya was on there. I believe he's the brother of Raymond Murataya. I don't know. Did you see any of these other fights that were on the card, or did you just catch the top there, Des?
No, I got the top 3 and Ramla Ali losing on decision. And before that, I never got any of them.
No worries. Any arguments with Ali losing that decision?
No, not really. Not really.
Yeah, she's a decent enough fighter. But Mercado, I would say that Mercado is about the, I don't want to say garden variety because that sounds terrible, but I'd say that she's basically a good marker for what the average women's boxing champion is, right in that area.
Yeah, and am I right? I don't want to be disrespectful. Am I right in thinking that Ramla Ali's the sort of girl you've got to beat if you have aspirations of winning the world title?
Well, 100%. I mean, and especially after she got knocked out. I mean, I know she got revenge in the comeback fight, but you know, Ali, if she didn't have a little bit of a spotlight on her outside of boxing because of modeling some
backstory, and she's got a backstory, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because she's early 30s. It's not like she's, you know, a 20-something-year-old gal or anything. So she might still carry on. This might be the end of the day, but you know, best of luck to her. I mean, it's obviously not like she doesn't have anything else that she can be doing. So anyhow,
yeah, absolutely, best of luck to her.
Let's see here. So next, let's go on to let's go to Miami, Florida, to where I thought the crowd was awfully quiet out there for this event. But Teofimo Lopez taking a wide unanimous decision over Steve Clagett, who took about as many shots as he could have taken over 12 rounds, but not succumbing to any of them. Absolutely incredible. And as listeners of the show know, I have a lot of time for Steve Clagett, who was one of those comeback pros who earned this shot. I would worry about him in his next fight after taking those punches, though. He ate some nasty shots. Teo found that uppercut, but I don't ever think Teo really had to get out of second gear, and I think he could have gotten Clagett out of there if he had wanted to put his punches together a little bit more. But anyhow, that was it was a fairly entertaining fight despite being one-sided, because Clagett, he comes forward and he definitely gives you opportunities to swing, and he landed his own shots in there as well. You guys did not catch this card, correct?
I caught the two main fights on this card, mate. Just on Lopez, yeah, look, obviously Clagett's brave and pushing the fight forward and trying to get on the front foot.
He's a pro's pro, man. He deserves everyone's respect. He's just not skilled enough to compete with Teo.
I know Teo's a little bit kind of swolled up around about the eyes and that as well, and around about the bridge of the nose. And you're right, Lopez was landing some vicious uppercuts on Clagett. That said, I don't know what it is with Teo. I think there's like a fear factor with him sometimes. I think if he's fighting opponents in the C-level type, he doesn't really kind of. I just don't think he's up for it as such. You know what I'm saying? It was just disappointing. I just think I don't know if it's the fact that his power hasn't went up to 140 possibly. I know Clagett in terms of size look roughly around about the same size as Lopez and that as well. And as I say, Clagett was tagging him from point to point. Punching power might not be there, but definitely it gave Teo a bit of a night's work anyway. We'll put it that way. Didn't come for just for a paycheck and take a few punches and lie down afterwards and get counted out. He came and he tried, and that's all you can ask. Honest pro, man. You're right. He tried all he could, took everything as well. And you're right. You've got to worry now actually, because there was a lot of punches there, a lot of punishment. So long break. Keep out the gym for a wee bit. Keep out the sparring situations. Just tick over in the gym, but stay away from the sparring just now for a wee while. Let yourself heal properly. But as for Lopez, I didn't catch the post fight, so I don't know what they were talking about in terms of future opponents at this point. But I would just off the top of my head, I would probably like to see who's it beat my ass again? Liam Paro, sorry.
Good
probably
fight.
I'd like to see him fight Liam Paro. I don't know what the situation is with Devin Haney in terms of the belt. Based off that performance last night, a wee bit as such, I wouldn't be too kind of. Again, I don't want to be reactive as such, but it's just like you don't know how we fight against Gervonta Davis based off that performance. I think he would be more up for it and get a little bit more kind of fear factor about it. Whenever he seems to have chaos in his life, by the way, he seems to somehow switch it on. He had the same situation against Josh Taylor. He had the same situation against Lomachenko. Somehow he just pulled it out the fire amongst all this chaos, and he puts on two of the best performances of his life. So
that's a good observation, Andy. That's so accurate. Yeah,
you cannot write him off. He is a talented fighter when he puts it all together. Mentally, I just think there's something missing there, and when he gets it right, he's going to be hard to beat. So we'll wait and see.
When he is running on all cylinders, Teofimo Lopez is a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. Yeah. When he's not, that number varies massively on where his level is in the sport.
I know Jack Cattrall's fighting Regis Prograis, which, by the way, I'm not too on board with that fight, and we can get into it later if you want. Yeah, I'd like to see Cattrall wait a wee bit longer, maybe try and get bobbed and somehow get the Lopez fight. I know Bob's chat on him a wee bit as well, but
I'll tell you the fight that would be terrible for him based on the style of both fighters, but if he wants to pick up more belts, he's going to need it. It's Sandor Martin and Alberto Puello apparently are going to purse bid for whatever freaking title they're up for, and we already
the BC, I'd imagine.
We already saw Martin against Teofimo Lopez give him a really hard time, arguably beat him, and Puello brings a lot of that to the table as well. I think the winner of that fight against Teo could definitely spell an L for Teo, but if he wants to pick up all the belts, he's going to need them. But let me just say, aside from that, just filling this time since I there's not much to say about this fight, Dez, I don't know who the fuck is going to come forward in Sandor Martin against Alberto Puello. I don't know.
No.
They could just be walking the outside of the ring. It's a shitty fight on paper, which, you know what? means it might be very good in the ring. Sometimes it comes
I
down
like
that
that.
way.
Ever the optimist. I like that. It's brilliant. No,
it's
I wouldn't have.
It's going to happen, basically, Matty.
Yeah, I wouldn't have much hope for that, Matty. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Terrible style.
Who comes forward in that one? It's an awful style matchup.
2 southpaws, I think, if I recall. Are they both southpaws? I think. Yeah, I think they are. I don't know.
Going back to something that that Andy was touching on there with Teo, I think we have to accept that the supremely talented fighters are not always the most supremely disciplined fighters. And in fact, the more talented you are, the less you rely on discipline or less you need discipline. So I think Teo's discovered in his life that I'm talented enough to get away with an awful lot that others can't. And if you look at guys that are not so talented, they work on discipline. What time they go to bed, what they consume, how they live, the people they put themselves around. I don't think Teo's in that group. And I think to get the very best version of Teofimo Lopez, you have to take him into a place where he needs to tap into discipline. Otherwise, he'll get beat. So to draw back on the observation Andy made, absolutely right. When you see Teo against a kid like Josh Taylor or like Lomachenko, you'll see him at his very, very best. There's no doubt about it. Teo is the purest, one of the most purest athletes in boxing, one of the most talented kids in boxing. And if you can get the two lines at the right space, discipline, focus, talent, I struggle to see anyone up at 140 that Teo couldn't beat. I think Teo can beat them all if he gets them on his right night. I think he's that good. But again, I go back to to repeat myself. The most talented fighters are not normally the most disciplined because they don't have to be.
Yeah, that's a shame. I think that's why Terrence Crawford is such a rare fighter in the sport. He is just so overwhelmingly dedicated to it, not just in what he does in his training, but outside of the ring. Like all of his life is built upon being a success from the ground up. It's about him being successful at what he does.
So when you talk about Terrence Crawford, I agree. Terrence is brilliant. Would you say that he's a supremely talented guy, or would you say he's more of a disciplined guy?
I think he's actually kind of got 3 things. I think he's supremely talented. I think he's incredibly dedicated with a tremendous work ethic, and I also think that his ring IQ is off the charts.
Yeah, it's hard because I think the discipline brings about talent. But I would put Spence, Crawford, I would put them guys closer to say that the Marvin Haglers, where they've worked really hard to become very good. But I wouldn't put him near, say, a Teo, and I'd put Teo probably closer to sort of the Durans or the Ray Leonards, where they're just so talented and so good at what they do. And these guys are going to be world class on 50%. I don't want to be objectionable. I don't want to sort of go against you just for the point of it. But I think Teo is a different type of talent, even to Bud Crawford. I think the things he can do, I think the fights he can win. I think guys like Teo get there on 50%.
I don't know that you can be as accurate as Crawford is and not be
Yeah, he's very talented. You're right. I'm going to get pelters. He's absolutely talented. I do agree.
I agree. Sometimes you just got to be the devil's advocate, but I get it. You know what I love about, not to go too far, but what I love about Duran is just the fact that he basically said, fuck it. I'll just get fat and keep fighting. And he did, and he just kept winning. He was just that good.
Good. I was having a chat with someone the other day who we was talking about Duran and such, and he was a little bit younger and he didn't quite get the Duran thing. And he only saw Duran when he got done by Hagler and Hearns. And I said, Duran had a 10-year Hall of Fame career, wiping everybody out before he even fought Ray Leonard in 1980. I mean, he had a 10-year Hall of Fame career. Then in, I think, 80 or 81, he started he started a second 10-year Hall of Fame career. And you could argue the third 10-year was a Hall of Fame career as well. Like, that's how special he was.
Yeah, don't get Andy going on Duran, or he could probably have just a podcast about Roberto Duran. So anyhow, Let's see here. So also on that top ranked card, let's see here. Andy, I know you caught this one. Robeisy Ramirez absolutely annihilating Brandon Benitez with that uppercut. I'd say it's a knockout of the year candidate. Robeisy looked incredibly sharp. I think obviously the level of his opponent was nowhere near Estrada, but I think he looked just as sharp as Bam did. He looked the best he has in a long time.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed, mate. I thought it was one of his more polished performances, a wee bit more patience about him. Again, that guy he was fighting wasn't really offering much up, to be fair, in my opinion at least. And though he didn't even belong at that level, somehow he's got a top 10 ranking somehow. But anyways,
not anymore.
Yeah, no anymore. One thing about 10 is he was counting it anyway last night. That uppercut, you're right. I mean, it's the way he set it up. Actually, he stepped to the left. And if you look at it, actually, there's a great shot from underneath the bottom turnbuckle in the corner. There's a camera there. I don't know if you've seen it, Matty, but you actually see the full shot. We also see Ramirez's stance. You literally see him pushing the punch right up through the leg, through the hip, and right up through the shoulder. It was a fucking peach of a shot. I think did he catch him again with another shot just before he went down?
He's flung in a right hook.
A right hook it was. That's what it was. It was a phenomenal shot, but yeah, knockout of the year type stuff. And that, but at the same time, I'm not want to go too daft because the opponent wasn't all that. He wasn't really offering up too much. Ramirez showed he was a class above, footwork, timing, punching power, obviously in the end. And as I say, it was the footwork and the timing that really, and obviously the power that set up that bloody uppercut. It was just vicious, mate. Yeah,
it's good. It's good to see. It's good to see Robsy can stay switched on and focused against an opponent like that, and be so good against an opponent like that. Because in the past, in his career, we've seen him switch off against lesser opponents. So that's a positive, isn't it, for Robsy?
Well, and I mean that fight could have easily gone the distance if Robeisy wanted it to, because he didn't have to really do that much to be better than Benitez. So the fact that he finished it the way he does, credit to him. And I think the best thing about this fight and what he was able to do, and we'll get to this other guy in a second here, but I think, Andy, that this has definitely created some buzz for his rematch with Espinosa, which I think could be just as good as the first fight.
Yeah, but obviously, mate, as well, I think obviously just to touch back on last week's action, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I think it was.
Yeah,
he beat Sanchez, didn't he? Espinosa, that is, stopped him in 4 rounds. Obviously, Sanchez, I think he looked a weight class below, in my opinion. So again, both guys have had a kind of easy takeover fight, in my opinion, based off these last 2 fights. So they've got the rust off. You know, it should be the fight should be happening next. I think basing it off last night's performance, if Ramirez is that patient and the way he went about his business in that last night, I think he can turn the tide in this fight and possibly even stop Espinosa this time around, possibly. So we'll wait and see. But it's got the hallmarks on our great fight, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it goes the direction of Ramirez, and it's competitive, and there's nothing else getting in the way, it has the markings of what could be another solid trilogy fight. So, looking forward to that one.
I'm right in saying as well as Ramirez, he got dropped in the last round in that fight, eh? So if that hadn't happened, am I right in saying that fight would have been a draw? Something along those lines.
He only lost on a split, Andy, didn't he?
Against, or a majority, I think it was.
The majority, yeah.
Yeah, I think actually what would have happened is that he would have maybe 2 cards would have
He would have been a split instead of the majority.
Yeah,
then.
maybe something like that. So, it was a good fight, and you got to remember that he floored Espinosa pretty hard in what was the 5th round with the right hook. Too. So that fight is interesting. And, after Espinosa, racking up this victory, I mean, I know it's not great competition, but, proven that there might be a little bit something more to this kid than catching somebody by surprise is just this tall, freaky fighter. Hopefully they get that one done. Real quick, back to the one last night, though. Elvis Rodriguez with a unanimous decision over Gino Rodrigo. But if there's anything from that fight, it did fizzle out a little bit. The first round might be a round of the year candidate, friends, because both fighters went down. Rodriguez shockingly going down against the ropes when Rodrigo caught him with a nice right hand. Rodrigo stalking him the rest of the round because Rodriguez was on shaky legs, only for Rodriguez to uncork his own punch up against the ropes with 5 seconds left to go as Rodrigo was pouncing on him to even it up. So that first round in Alves Rodriguez, Gino Rodrigo, definitely worth your time if you care to catch that one. So yeah. Anybody who didn't, definitely tune in. The Lopez fight was all right, but that first round, Rodrigo worth it. The knockout of Ramirez over Benitez, absolutely fantastic. Emiliano Vargas was also on there, picking up a quick stoppage victory. Nico Ollie Walsh, worth mentioning, picking up a victory, getting revenge over Sona Akale, just narrowly by a point on both cards, because he was able to score a good knockdown in the third. But in the sixth and final round of this fight, Ollie Walsh had a dislocated shoulder and he tried to punch it back into place. He might be lacking quite a bit, but this guy does have a fighter's heart. And, apparently he's turned down good money to fight certain people because he thought they're joke fights. I think he has respect for his name as well. So we'll see where he goes from here. Going to have to recover from that. But if you like nasty injuries, check that out. 6th round, Nico Ollie Walsh against Sona Akale. Definitely a nasty little injury that occurred in that one. I don't know if you guys happen to see any highlights of that one, but it was gross.
Only seen what was happening between some of the, what happens in between rounds. We're showing some kind of like catch-up highlights, and I had seen that part you're talking about. He was in the corner trying to put a punch. I thought it was actually just like punching himself, like to say, like, "Come on, let's go." So thanks for kind of he followed me in there because I didn't really know what happened to him.
Nope, trying to get his body parts back to where they belong.
That's a problem actually, because obviously if you're dislocating shoulders, that type of thing, and that unless it heals properly, that can be problematic in future fights.
I think a lot of the time it shows that you're not throwing your punches properly too.
Remember it happened to Pascal a couple of times against.
Oh yeah.
What was that Romanian guy's name again? He had to get it put in twice. Dakanu, that's the one. He had to try and get it put in twice, I'm sure, during that same fight. He was in serious pain. Like, I can remember him in between rounds of that fight. Sticks in my mind.
Diakonu was a decent little kind of.
Yeah, I'm sure. Was he an ex-Olympian or definitely remain good amateur for the Romanian side at one point? I can't mind. I need to go check his record actually.
He might have been, but I mean, good Romanian amateur. I mean, what does that really mean, Andy? What does that mean?
Well, again, it depends who he was competing against.
So let's see here. You hit on this one, so let's go to it real quick. Des, did you see the Espinosa Sanchez fight last week?
No, I didn't, but I'm aware of the result because I'm following the Robsy connection.
Now I'll tell you that. So that fight, we already discussed that a bit. The card, the one on that fight on that card that I want to talk about is Andres Cortez getting a unanimous decision over Abraham Nova. For anyone who saw this fight, most people think that this one was a robbery. We can't we can't figure out how the judges got there. We had Feldman at 96-94, and then Patricia Morse-Jarman, Dave Moretti 97-93, all experienced judges. I don't know how they got there. I was only able to originally catch the first the last 4 rounds of the fight, which I think Nova probably won them all. Maybe he got 3 of them if you're really looking. But then he didn't lose the first 6. Come to find out, he definitely lost a handful. Maybe he should have walked out of there with a draw. But I think Abraham Nova really got a raw deal on this one, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this one, Andy. I was disappointed.
I didn't catch that one, mate. To be fair, trying to remember if I did catch any. No, I don't think I did.
Sad days. Well, it's okay. Let's see. Also on that card, you had Troy Isley was able to pick up a victory over the previously undefeated Javier Martinez. A couple of deductions in that fight, kind of nasty here and there. Floyd Diaz was able to pick up a victory over an 18-11 opponent. Seems like they're slowing him down a little bit there. So, yeah. And then Friday night here, we had a Probox championship fight, but not from Florida, from Washington, D.C. So Lamont and Roach could have a homecoming, defending his belt that he picked up off of Hector Luis Garcia over Feargal McCrory. Would you be shocked to find out that a guy named Feargal McCrory was stopped, Andy?
No surprise, mate. No, I didn't catch the fight. I know it was on YouTube. I have got it saved. But the opponent who was the opponent again? McCrory was fighting.
Lamont Roach Jr.
Lamont Roach. I did see some comments. Lamont Roach actually gave him a bit of props, so I might catch up with that one actually.
McCrory is tough. I mean, Lamont Roach hurt him a lot of times. He knocked him down in round 3. He put him down twice with body shots in round 4, and McCrory kept coming in. And then his corner just had mercy on him. He was eating too many hard shots. Roach looking about as good as he ever has, fighting with more confidence since picking up that championship. I'm just hoping that they finally get Otar Aronosian a title shot. I think that's one of the bodies he's ranked with, but we'll see. Otar is waiting in the wings, and I want to see him get his chance.
Just talk about the Irish, actually. I see John O'Carroll's fighting for a title in Russia against Bartek Azaev in about 2 weeks' time, maybe even next week, possibly, I think.
Huh.
That's a big ask as well to go there and fight him, actually. He's one of the upcoming Russians, I think he's ex-Olympian gold medalist and that as well, so it's a tough ask for Jono.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, especially going to Russia. Interesting. Very interesting. Also on that Probox card, Lester Martinez picking up a victory over the Iron Chin Carlos Gongora, who just refuses to get knocked out.
How did that go, mate? I just says I've got the fight saved. I've just not got. How did Gongora look? Awful.
He looked like he could take a punch.
So he got beat, I take it.
Yeah, I mean, and he throws back a little bit. So, but yeah, it wasn't enough.
Yeah. I had high hopes for him, actually. You always love a B-side fighter, but you just never kind of really follow through in the end. So.
Yeah, and then a name that you guys might be familiar with. I didn't catch this one, but the result being Alex Dilmagani lost by 7th round stoppage to Rene Tejas Giron. Giron always formidable, even despite his 19-3 record. So this attempted career resurgence in the United States for Dilmagani has gone horribly.
Yeah, Dilmagani's been a pro since 2009. And he's fought sort of like, Jason Nesbitt and Daniel Thorpe and Baz Carey, Billy Smith, God bless him, and Mickey Coveney. But there must have been a gap here of some sort. He's been reasonably active, sort of 1 or 2 fights a year. He's been a long-standing pro. So to find himself on that card, he must have relocated. Is that what he's done, Matty?
Yeah, he was trying to relocate here and get a change in his career. And
yeah.
He was doing in Mexico for a number of years, was he not?
Right.
I don't know. So
I'm pretty sure he was, actually.
Yeah, well, maybe he needs to go back there, or maybe he needs to go back home. It's not going well here.
Well, Feargal relocated to New York, didn't he? He's an Irish kid, relocated to New York, and he's not a puncher, Feargal, so they brought him in to give Lamont a defense. I always wonder though, when you get a kid like Lamont Roach with a good world title, like a super featherweight world title, I wonder what they've got planned for him. I wonder what the movement's going to be, because if you're around that featherweight class and you want to step up, that's a really good fight to have, because Lamont's been beaten before. He's not much of a puncher, so there could be a bit of movement somewhere up there. We could see Lamont coming over here with a belt soon.
You never know how that could wind up. I think it just ends up where the money is ultimately best. It couldn't have been a huge purse being a Probox event. Once again, just showing that PBC is not able to keep their roster together at this point in time. There's just not enough dates to go around. So, but anyhow,
but if you said, say for example, say we wanted to get sort of, I don't know, Lee Wood, look, you're struggling at featherweight. Let's get you up at super feather and bring a world champion over. That works, doesn't it? And then it's a good fight.
I like that fight, actually.
Yeah, it's a good fight for Leewood, and you'd fancy Leewood in that fight.
I'm sorry, and Roach wants a unification, and we'll see where it goes from there. But I don't know if he's going to get that one. He's especially
if for example the machinations in America, for example, if people looking after Raymond Ford thought, look, you've struggled at featherweight. You've been a world champion. Let's get you up at super feather.
That's also
a world title
fight
for you there. That's a good fight, isn't it? So I always wonder when an unfancied kid who hasn't pulled up an awful lot of trees has found himself with a world title, and they're bringing a McCrory for Feargal for him. I sometimes think, what's the bigger picture?
Yeah, and I this just seems like a homecoming fight where he could look good and they can make a little bit of money. There was just not a lot to this fight.
No.
It was just but Roach, he looked sharp, and you know what? As a new champion, it's good to get that confidence though, and keep building it.
And McCrory's a really good opponent for that, isn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, because he's tough as hell. He keeps coming, but he blocks punches with his face.
And fair play to Lamont, because looking at it, it seemed like his father was involved with a promotion. So they've probably run around, they've gone and sold tickets. I don't know what the attendance was like there, but it was a homecoming, wasn't it? So they're building Lamont for a reason. I just wonder what the next move's going to be.
Yeah, sounded good. You know what I mean? In that area, I mean, you got DC and Baltimore aren't too far apart. Davis is over there as well. So, I mean, it's an area. I mean, the Peterson brothers from DC as well. So there's definitely a fight scene around there for sure. So I don't know. We'll see if what more might happen. But let's see here. Oh, and there was a couple of UK cards that went on. So I'll kind of let you guys discuss them. Andy, what did you see? And Des, if you saw the same stuff, feel free to interact away.
Yeah, it was just a couple of cards on the Friday and the Saturday, mate. The one on Channel 5 only caught London Arthur against Liam Cameron, which I don't know if you remember, Matt. Liam Cameron was the fighter that Aussies mentioned a number of times who copped a 4-year ban for cocaine. Whilst like other guys who are using steroids are catching like maybe 9 months or a year. That anyway, by the by, Cameron I think was a middleweight before the ban. I'm sure maybe slightly lighter than that, but he's up at light heavyweight now, and wasn't he overawed by Arthur, to be fair? I thought it was a bit of a kind of poor performance for what I can remember it. I think Cameron got a point deducted as well, I'm sure. I'm pretty certain Arthur also missed the weight. So bad habit there, to be fair. So again, it's half a pound, but again, it's unprofessional. And I think on the Saturday, big ups, well, not so much an upset actually. I think it was more just probably something more kind of weight in the wings. It was really Felix Cash's return. I think I mentioned it the last time we were on air that Cash hasn't fought in a while. We don't know. There's no form guide, and he turned up. And Tyler Denny, I thought was absolutely fantastic. A guy who's had a couple of losses, a couple of draws in his career, and that hasn't been discouraged. Come back, European middleweight champion, and I thought it was fantastic. Okay, technical decision, bit of a bad cut, whatever it was, but at the same time, as long as that fight lasted, I thought Denny was the boss in that fight. Didn't catch the women's fight. Did not. I'm trying to remember Lewis Crocker against Conor Walker. I'm pretty certain. Was that not a bit of award days? Did you catch that fight, mate?
Yes, I did. It was a good fight. It was a brilliant fight. Might be fight of the year. Have you not seen it, Andy?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember, mate. I'm pretty sure I did.
Okay.
It's just been
yeah. So, Crocker and Walker, possibly my fight of the year so far. Two guys, you don't want to see him interviewed after the fight. You want to get him back to the change rooms, get him in with a doctor, and probably getting into observation overnight. It was that sort of fight. They were both brilliant. Now, I fancied Crocker going in, and Crocker fights with an arrogance. He fights with this almost like, I'm too good to be here. He hits Walker with sort of these one shot to Walker's 3, and Walker's not going away. And Walker was persistent and he was constant. And it drew Crocker into the fight he probably didn't want. And the last 5 rounds of that, they were both going toe to toe. A lot of the guys in the chat had Walker winning. I really honestly thought it was a draw, and I never go for the draw. But if there was ever going to be a draw in boxing, it was probably this one. Both guys were brilliant. It's made me kind of manage my expectation on Lewis Crocker as well, because him and Paddy Donovan seems to be the fight they're trying to make. I'm not quite sure if Paddy Donovan does himself justice in that fight, but I'm not so sure if Lewis Crocker does himself justice either. So I'd like to see them both. Let's see them marinate a little bit longer, another 8 months, 12 months, and let's see if we can make that. But while I'm talking about Crocker and Donovan, we must not forget Walker, who's now put himself in that, because that fight, there was a whisker between who wins it and who loses it. It was that close.
Was that one worth watching? I heard that was.
Yeah, it is, mate. As Desi's talking there, actually, I can recall it now. Actually, I absolutely do recall it. Walker. But Des, am I right in saying is there something wrong with does Crocker know about kind of cramming the weight a little bit in terms of like it's affecting his output? As if he was able to get it right, he could actually have got Walker out of there if he had a wee bit more in the tank, possibly, because that was a lot of punishment I can recall.
Well, that's really interesting you say that, because I spoke to a few of the lads in Northern Ireland just before the fight. I spoke to Dominic, and the feeling was if Crocker can get his weight right, if he can get all them variables in place, all his ducks in a row, he's a very, very capable operator. But if you look at Walker's CV, he's also a capable guy. And he's one of these guys that's probably lost fights that were probably wrong timing for him. And it's probably suggests he's not as good as what he actually is. Walker is a very, very good fighter. And I wouldn't fancy Paddy Donovan against Walker. It's a hard fight for all of them. Walker done himself justice on Saturday. It was a brilliant fight. And fight of the year for me. But both guys in the last 3-4 rounds were toe to toe. And when you thought someone's landed a shot that's going to turn the tide, the other kid come back. It was absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen it, Matty, and you get a spare half an hour this week, watch it. It's that good.
Excellent.
You'll probably need to go to the zone to get that one, Matty.
Yeah, if it's on the zone, whatever, we'll watch it. Stupid the zone. Were there any other cards? Was that the only one you guys discussed while I was getting my beverage?
Just obviously Channel 5. I don't know if you want to mention London Arthur, mate. I mean, it's a bit he's at a crossroads now, in my opinion. Even though he won the fight as such, he got a decision. At least we'll leave it at that. One of the cards was a disgrace. 97-91 just was not on.
Do you sometimes think, like in a fight like that, the one that's come out looking better is Liam Cameron?
Aye,
because everything Andy said is right. Liam Cameron's got a brilliant backstory. Liam Cameron took that fight because he was probably told, we need to get you going. Time's not on your side and you've lost 5 years. And I think Liam Cameron, and some of the lads in the chat will correct me, I think he was a Commonwealth middleweight champion before the 5-year ban.
Mm-hmm.
So was that right, Andy? Was he Commonwealth middleweight champion?
He was Commonwealth champion at the time,
so he's a capable operator. And to watch him fight last Friday, we all fell in love with Liam Cameron because we knew that he's going to give this the best chance he can because he can't have a bad performance. Now, in contrast to that, Lyndon Arthur reminds me a little bit of Gareth Southgate's England. He does something well, then he steps back 2 feet and just observes and admires his work. And he allows people into the fight. And he was probably Liam Cameron, it was the perfect opponent for Liam was Lyndon Arthur, because Lyndon might throw a really good jab. And let's be clear, Lyndon's got size, he's got technical ability, he's got good hands, good feet, but he just won't come out of a comfort zone. He won't take himself to that place. And Liam exploited that. So whenever Lyndon done something well, Liam kept firing back and having his moment. And that's what made it a close fight. I thought the cards were terrible. It was a lot closer than the cards said it was. But of that fight, Liam's come out the one in good health. Liam's the one that's come out of an awful lot of credibility. And there'll be a lot of work for Liam, which I think is what the exercise was for. If you can win it, win it. But if you can't, look good. And Liam definitely looked good.
Excellent. Anything else I miss?
Don't think so, mate. That was all I could remember picking out actually 2 weeks ago. Obviously, there'll be other minor stuff, but nothing really worth reporting.
Anything else off your mind that you saw, Des?
Have we touched on Pierce O'Leary?
No, that's right. You saw that card. Yep. Go ahead.
Pierce is really
Friday
good.
night. Was that Friday night?
That was a couple of days ago. Yeah. Pierce is really good. Pierce has got great feet. It was mentioned in the chat by George. Pierce is not a puncher, but he throws good combination shots and he can sting you. But where Pierce is, like we talk about, the most talented fighters are not always disciplined, and the most disciplined fighters are not always the most talented. In Pierce's case, perhaps because he's not such a concussive puncher, it's made him technically very good. His feet are very good. He understands angles, particularly when he's in the pocket. And Darren Foley really has come off the Robbie Davis Jr. win, and they've thought, you know what, we're going to put you in with Cattrall, and now we're going to put you in with O'Leary. He's a capable guy, but O'Leary was brilliant on Friday night. He had angles, he had good feet, punch selection was good, variation was good, really good performance from Pierce. And he's only young in his professional career. I'm interested to see where he goes, but he's with a respected team in Liverpool. He's very capable. He comes from a good part of, he comes from Ireland, where they're going to get behind him, and there'll be a lot of fights for him. It's interesting to see where Pierce O'Leary goes in the next 12 months.
Excellent. Well, yeah. Wasn't there a vicious knockout on that?
Yeah,
card
there
too?
was. Yeah, there was. It was awful. Right, so the names escapes me now, but the kid caught him with a right hand over the top, and he fell forward. So it was almost natural to throw a left uppercut as well, and he caught him coming down. But I spoke to Steve on Friday, and he said no, he's good. He's in good health. But it was a Tony Ball kid, and he's okay. He's okay, but it was a vicious knockout. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds. That's the tough thing. And so does it qualify as a knockout of the year contender, do you think? I mean, the fact that it was frightening, but a lot of knockout of the year contenders were frightening for sure. Yeah, Paul Williams, Sergio Martinez, his eyes were open when he was asleep. That was frightening.
That was one of them. He was on the floor twitching, and you could see by the actions of the referee, the corner. Just look. So let me pull it up because I want to get the names right. Let's do the kid justice. So where are we? We're it was what card? Remind me the card. It was the Pierce O'Leary card, wasn't it?
If you look up the Pierce O'Leary on Boxer, I'd be able to pull it up from there.
Okay, right. So bear with me, guys. Sorry, lads.
No, you're
right.
You're fine.
So we've got Pierce. Let's go to his card, and I'll know the name when I see it. Steve brought it to my attention. Right, it was James McGivern, and he stopped Rashid Omar, and Rashid Omar was the kid that got dropped and knocked down heavily. What didn't make it look very nice was James was very wound up. He was very tense, and when he threw that shot, and he must have known as soon as his glove landed that you're going to kip. And he threw the uppercut because he fell forward. And then he kind of he was getting involved with the crowd now because he's the home fighter and it's a spectacular knockout. But you could see Tony Ball rush into the ring, put Rashid into a recovery position. The referee was trying to hold his legs because his legs were sort of, I don't want to make it too dramatic, but his legs were sort of twitching. So that to sort of stabilize him and make sure he's okay. I sent Steve a text and said, how is Rashid? Because Steve was there. And Steve said, no, he understands he's okay and he's up on his feet and he's talking, as is normally the protocol with these things. But it just looked really bad.
Well, as long as he's all right, I hope everything goes well, and I guess we'll discuss this again for knockout of the year candidates later on in the year.
And if I can, Mete, I think we should.
Sure.
I don't know if Andy saw it. We should probably give Tyler Denny some respect as well, because last week he defended his European title, beating Felix Cash.
That was an upset. Yeah,
he was.
What a run! What a run he's on for being a non-puncher too. What a run!
Well, that's what I was, as I say, I briefly touched on it in that as well. It's a couple of losses on his record doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, he's got a couple of draws. Again, doesn't really matter. He's been in there. We did say at the same time as well as we just didn't know what with Cash been off so long, what he was going to offer. Well, doesn't really matter. Tyler Denny just took it apart. Again, only went 5 rounds because of the cut and that. But at the same time, is that the fight was, for me at least, was only going one way. It was Tyler Denny. It was his fight. It was his fight all the way. So questions for Felix Cash moving forward in terms of what they're going to do. But that gym now is that Cardina, Cash, and Ben.
Do you know something really interesting about Tyler Denny? Of his last 10 opponents, 7 of them have been undefeated. That's a really good run, isn't it? He hasn't won all them. He drew with Wilson Bent, but returned that one, and he got beat by Linus Udofia. But it shows you the mentality of Tyler Denny. And I think we should, we can't speak high enough of him, because this is a kid that wasn't meant to be here. And the European title, Matty, it's our gateway into world class. We fight for area belts, and then we fight for British and Commonwealth titles. But the European title historically has always been the one that earns you a lot more money. It gets you a lot more prestige. It puts you a top 15 world ranking. And that's Tyler Denny's belt. And when you look at the guys he's mixed with, in terms of, Brad Pauls, and we see Brad Pauls pretty much run a split with the British champion at the moment. And he's also fought.
What a great
brilliant fight. Yeah, it was a good fight. And he's been beaten by Reece Cartwright, and he got back on the saddle. He's been beaten by Linus and got back on the saddle. Again, I think that's an outstanding run. Of your last 10 opponents, 7 of them have been undefeated. So he's got a right to sit back and go, no one's ever looked after me, mate. Because I'm trying to think of someone else who's got a record like that. And he's done ever so well, Tyler. And he's getting something going in that particular part of the country, in Wolverhampton. And they seem to be for him. He wasn't meant to win last Saturday, but I wonder how much of that was Eddie maybe saying to Felix, I tell you what, you've had a lot to say. You've not been living particularly well. You've been out for 2 years. Can I get you big fights? I've got your European title. Go and beat Tyler Denny. And it was absolutely the wrong fight for Felix. He just wasn't. It was just Tyler was rough. He was tough. He was game. He threw shots over the top. He threw them under. He was going in with his shoulders. He really roughed up the rough guy. And I always know when a kid's struggling, particularly in rounds 2 and 3, because they get on that old Roy Jones sparring partner mode where they drop their hands and try and bob and weave and slip shots. It wasn't phasing Tyler one bit. He was brilliant last Saturday. And so much credit to Tyler, because I've followed his career. He's the underdog and he's come good. He's really doing well. And by the looks of it, Ben Shalom's going to get him a deal at Sky. So he'll be, for the first time in his career, the promoted fighter.
And the thing is, as well, is I actually checked his world ranking before this fight, actually, Matty, and he was top, I think he was number 14. So the ranking's about middle of next month. I assume he maybe jump up to top 10. And you're talking about mixing with like Austin Williams, Liam Smith, Elijah Garcia, Chris Eubank, Hamza Shiraz, and then obviously the champ himself, Carlos Adams. So so decent fights for him there. And as Des says, he's on that gate. He's definitely at the gateway now of world-class opponents or world-ranked opponents. There's one fighter I would love to see him face. I don't know if he's still ranked in the top 15. Milker Vidal somehow holds a world ranking still to this day. And Tyler Denny has walked about a gauntlet. He's earned his the hard way, as Des says. But the likes of Vidal and Falcao, the Brazilian, I think these are decent barometers at this point to keep him busy. If he's not going to get a European title defence in place, and these might be decent enough opponents just to test the waters at world class or world gateway world level, and then make the move sometime later on, either this year or early next year, for the likes of maybe.
Yeah, I love that, Andy. That's a really good plot.
Nursultanov or maybe Shiraz, but Shiraz maybe be challenging for a world title. But then, so again, if Shiraz wins the world title, you get Denny picking up a few more wins behind there, builds up a wee bit more extra momentum. You might get that world title fight against Shiraz at some point as well. You never know how the cards might fall there.
And Tyler's one of them guys. He's had that type of career. I'd like to see him earn a few quid. I'd like to see him have a nice bit of money out of this. And the next couple of years, if he's got Sky behind him and that European title, Andy, maybe, what you said, let's keep him, let's marinate him at that level and step him up incrementally. And then if we're going to let him off the leash, let him do it in a couple of years when he's had a right few quid and has built a really good resume, and he can look back on boxing and say, "God, I really did do well." I'd like to see that for Tyler. I mean, on Boxrec, it's got him pitched in against Hamza Shiraz for his next fight, and I'm not sure I want to see that because I think Hamza's a talent on his own journey, and I'd like to try and keep Tyler away from him just for now.
It's interesting, though. I was just checking the European rankings there, so I don't know how up to date these are at this point, but Eubank and Liam Smith are ranked 1 and 2 at the European middleweight rankings. Brad Paul's number 10. Vinny Feigenbut's number 9. Again, he's mixed at well, I don't rate him, but he's mixed at world level. Gaultieri, he held the IBF belt, I think, Matty. Nathan Heaney's ranked number 5. That's a decent enough fight as well.
That's a good fight, yeah.
And they've got an undefeated Italian. No many have probably seen. I've seen him a couple of times. How do you pronounce it? Nuthouse Olia. I think he's a Cameroonian based in Italy. He's a decent boxer, not got much power, but again, these are keep busy fights, earn a few quid before you get the call on that basically. So he has got options there really. So hopefully Sky do well by him, by the way, because he deserves, as you say, he deserves a good couple of paydays at least. He's earned it the hard way. And
he's very organic. He's a very organic character, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
There's no it's not scripted. He's not come out of GB setup. He's not at his whole career with a big name promoter. What you see with Tyler is what you get. He's very organic. And I got that from the crowd last week as well. They was very local. They was all behind him. So, yeah, I'm in complete agreement with Andy. I'd like to see him nurtured over the next 18 months where he can earn a few quid, build a good resume, and then perhaps go into a really big fight because he's earned it.
Well, good on him. I mean, there's not very many non-punchers who work their way up that way. But I think he's the cool thing about Denny, he's proof that you don't have to be a big puncher to fight the physically imposing, stronger fighters fight. He's an interesting cat for sure. So we'll see what comes up from next. He's definitely earned something better. So hopefully he gets that. But there is a card. We'll get into our previews here. There is a card that, God, should we kick it off? This is such a big deal. I even wonder. But anyhow, we have a card that's going to be headlined by Johnny Fisher taking on Alan the Savage Babic.
Oh, dearie fucking me.
Yep. Also on that card, Reese Bellotti taking on the 15-1 Levi Giles with the Commonwealth Super Feather belt on the line. Undefeated John Hedges taking on undefeated Lewis Oakford for the Southern Area Cruiser belt. And ladies fight, Maisie Rose Courtney against Yasmina Zapata. And then let's see here. This I know nothing about these guys, but you got two undefeated guys, a 4-0 and a 3-0. Emmanuel Buttigieg against Oliver Chudzik. So yeah, a little bit going on there. Andy, well, anything on that intrigues you?
Not much, mate. To be fair, I won't be watching it live anyway. I'm on holiday next week, so I won't see it. But I would just be a matter. I suppose the only thing it's really kind of question really is what round does Johnny Fisher knock out Alan Babic? We saw. Well, I don't know if you saw. There's Rosiski knock him out in one round. Just wasted him, mate. Absolutely wasted him. So I'd expect Johnny Fisher to do the same. Bosch Army will be in there. It'll be fucking wall-to-wall Bosch Army, I'd imagine. I don't know much about Reese Bellotti's opponent, to be fair, so I maybe like Des maybe jumping on that one. But talk about a wee bit of resurgence, actually. Reese Bellotti as well. He's come back from was it 3 or 4 defeats on the spin back about 2 or 3 years ago.
He's 18-5 right now, and he's coming off 4 wins in a row at this point.
Yeah, and he beat Liam Dillon for the British title and that as well to take in with the Commonwealth. So he's done well for himself to come back there. So obviously, again, as I said, I don't know much about the opponent, but I know he's light punching off his box rec at least. So I think maybe Bellotti will probably win the fight. We'll maybe let Des come in, but there's nothing else really there, mate, that I can see that's really kind of, it's a Saturday night club fight basically type card. It's a kind of keep busy fights or development fights for some others. unless Eddie's got anything else to kind of prop it up and that. But yeah, it's nothing much to write home about, to be fair.
Des, any thoughts on this copper box card?
Yeah, I mean, so the copper box, if you know, sorry to if you know this, but this copper box is part of the Olympic Village, so it's part of the legacy of 2012, and you've got West Ham play their football there, and you've got a swimming pool there, and you've got a gymnastics centre there, and you've got quite a few things there, and the copper boxes.
Check this out, Des. I bet you I have some incredible fact that you wouldn't think an American would have.
Go on, mate.
One of the first fights that was at the copper box was Derek Chisora against Malik Scott.
Was that one of the first professional boxing matches at the copper box? Was it?
Yes, it was.
Wow, but I think initially, it was for the Olympic boxing as well in 2012. So that's where Lomachenko won his gold, and AJ, and I think that's where they held the boxing in the Village. So it lends itself. It's about 7,500 capacity. So it's one of London's smaller arenas. So it's not the O2 is a 20,000 arena. And of course, you've got the bigger ones like the Excel as such. But this one here is sort of like a 7,000, 7,500, and it fits nice to test the water. So Johnny Fish is a really big ticket seller. They're telling me he does about 2,000 tickets. So I don't know what scheme they've got going or how they're doing it, but they're getting 2,000 bums on seats when he fights. So I'd imagine.
I'll tell you this much, Des. I bet you if you were a guy who knows how to make fried rice and you're free on a Saturday night, you're going to be on that fight. You're going to be at that fight. You know who pays the bills.
Uber drivers will be on standby, mate. That's what's going to be happening.
So I think Eddie's got plans for Johnny Fisher. Of course he has. But I think what he's doing is he's introducing Johnny, although he's not the main event. That's Reese Bellotti's thing, and we'll come to Reese. But they're introducing Johnny into the bigger arenas where you're higher on the card, and how far can we take this? And I think that with Johnny Fisher, he's a work in progress. He's got a good trainer with him. He's got a very good promoter with him. And it's a case of let's keep you active and keep you busy. And Johnny Fisher is a typical example of a fighter that's going to rely on timing and matchmaking. And I think in Alan Babic, they've got a good one for Johnny. He's a lot smaller than Johnny Fisher. He won't punch hard enough to hurt Johnny Fisher. And after about 3 rounds, you'd expect Johnny Fisher to sort of take over and really see that fight out. And I suppose he'll stop Alan Babic because he's too big and it just hits too hard. But I
would sum it up, Des, as Johnny Fisher is a work in progress, whereas Alan Babic is a missing link in human progress.
There you go. Well done. That's a brilliant quote. But yeah, so that's where we're at with it. And I think we saw when Johnny Fisher won I think it was the Southern Area belt. It might be the English title. I think it was Southern Area title, if you can correct me. But we saw then that a kid his own size that's got a bit of punch variation and it's going to stick around beyond 4 or 5 rounds could catch Johnny out. So they've just got a smaller guy in who's going to be very aggressive on the front foot, and Johnny knows how to deal with that. Johnny will have to work on an aggressive opponent that's going to try and push him back. I think it's a good matchmaking if you're trying to develop a fighter. It's not something that's going to keep you in at night. It's not something you're going to look forward to. I'm sure the arena will be sort of half empty, but it's just one of those tick over moments. Reese Bellotti, he's had an interesting career. He was an amateur champion, an ABA champion. He's turned over with Jimmy Mack, and he's always been promoted by Matchroom. And then he went on this terrible run where he lost about 5 in 7. And then he got Liam Dillon, as Andy said, at the Indigo nightclub in the O2. And he won that British title. So I think he won the British and Commonwealth title. So he's in a good position now. So I don't know much about his opponent, but perhaps Matchroom is saying, look, we're going to give you another run. So Reese isn't so much a big puncher. Or perhaps maybe Liam Dillon is really good at absorbing shots, which we know he is. So the next one will tell us a bit more about Reese. But it's pretty much a tick over card on a Saturday on a Saturday evening. There'll be about 4,000 people in there. I would have thought 4,500 people, and it's in one of London's smaller arenas. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, sounds like a good event for people who are just real boxing fans. As long as the ticket's priced fair. It sounds like a good night out for the kind of people we hang out with.
But Matty, it suits Matchroom to keep Johnny Fisher active, doesn't it? So let's just work out if he's selling, and I don't know these numbers. Let's play around with it. If he's selling 1,500 tickets of a mean average of £60, then he's giving Matchroom £90,000 every time he fights. So if you can get Johnny out, say 6 times a year, you're giving Matchroom over £500,000 in ticket money. Now that's something you've got to protect, isn't it? Something you've got to look after. So he's like a Nathan Heaney. They're really good ticket sellers. They've got that. So it's in their interest to, like, Johnny will pay for that show, the tickets he sells. So it's not a disaster. And it hasn't got to sell out. Johnny Fisher would do a lot of the cat lifting on that one, and it's keeping them all busy. So I can see the sense in it.
You're on mute, Matty.
That's right. I'm just kind of curious what kind of purse that Fisher is getting for a fight like this. I haven't. I'd curious. What, like 50,000 maybe, or
nah, I wouldn't go that deep. I don't think there's.
Or do you think you might get that much with his purse plus like incentives for the tickets they move?
Well, he's probably
he's on a ticket deal.
Money. I definitely do. Definitely.
He's on a ticket deal, and I'm like, so I would imagine it's structured. We guarantee we'll get you out this many times, and if you can bring us this much revenue, we can guarantee you that much money on top of your purse. I wouldn't like to know. I could dig around and I'll find out, but he's probably on a good number when you think about it. If you're selling 1,500 or 2,000 tickets, you're probably on a really good little. I mean, the ticket deal will absolutely absorb your fight purse. It would cut. You know, you're definitely on a ticket deal, and you're on good.
Pay for the Chinese, doesn't it? What about that?
It will pay for the Chinese, absolutely, yeah.
Giant prawns beware. Your end.
Prawn balls, chicken balls, pickle balls, all the balls you can think, mate. Hairy balls.
Man, he's like Bubba talking about shrimp. Let's see here. So that one we have to look forward to. That's some DAZN action. It's going to be Saturday evening for y'all, Saturday afternoon over here. And then we got a couple of stateside cards. Of course, they're going on at the same time. What are you going to do about that? Actually, there's 3 of them technically. So let's see here. Let's start with this one, which is the least interesting of them. It's kind of a card of MMA fighters boxing with a decent boxing match with some where you're not quite sure where it could go on there. This isn't a big fight, Andy, but it is vaguely interesting for you. Danny Jacobs taking on Shane Mosley Jr. This is going to be over 10 rounds at 168, it appears, which I think would have to favor Jacobs because I couldn't see him squeezing 160 anymore. This is a big chance for Mosley Jr. Kind of looking for a signature win, as he's been on a pretty decent run of form lately, and Jacobs would definitely be the name he's been looking for.
To be honest, mate, I'd seen Jacobs' name on Twitter during the week, and I'd seen obviously making a comeback. I didn't know he was fighting this weekend until I was going through the schedule there before the show. I'm kind of shocked. He hasn't fought in 2 years. You're right, you've said about Mosley. He's been active at least. He hasn't fought since December, however. But in terms of the I haven't seen what I'm trying to remember the last time I seen him. Was the Rosado fight though quite controversial?
Well, Jacobs Rosado.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
John
Mosley.
No, I think Mosley beat him clean.
John Ryder beat Jacobs last time out, and before that, Jacobs nicked one off of Rosado. Before that, he beat Chavez Jr., and before that, he got beat by beat Devranchenko, I think. So, I mean, I think the 2 years inactivity is going to hurt Jacobs. But I think before that, his run was pretty good because he run John very close, and he run Gabe Rosado very close, and he beat Devranchenko, and he beat Chavez Jr. So before the 2 years, his run was pretty very respectable. But I'm with you, Andy. He's had 2 years out, and I don't quite know what Jacobs has got left. But perhaps maybe Mosley Jr. is the perfect opponent for Jacobs to find out, because I don't think Mosley can hurt Jacobs, and I don't think Jacobs can hurt Mosley. It's probably the winner can go on to another one, but the loser probably ain't got nowhere to go.
That's a fair assessment, I think.
I just don't know enough about Mosley Jr. Mate, to be fair. He's up at, what is he? He's like mid-30s now as well. I mean, isn't
it amazing that Shane Mosley Jr. is in his 30s? It sounds weird.
Mate, I tell you, just talking about Da Senior. But have you heard him recently? He sounds absolutely awful.
Oh, terrible!
He looks puffy as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, mate, I'm talking almost Terry Norris levels. That's what I'm talking about right now with Mosley, by the way, in terms of how he speaks. But yeah,
I can't.
It's a trade fight, really, mate. It's a trade fight, and again, what's at the end of it? I mean, I don't know what is Mosley Jr. ranked. What weight? You said this was at middleweight, yeah?
168.
168.
Mm-hmm.
I see Mosley's ranked at 160, so it's a trade fight, mate. That's all it is. And if Jacobs wins theoretically, I mean, would you
Jacobs
put him in
has enough name value that he could always get one more title shot if he gets a decent victory. And to be fair, the last name Mosley, same kind of thing, I guess.
Let me tell you this, right? If he wins and he somehow gets a world title fight, then he absolutely deserves that alias it has called the Miracle Man, by the way. Fair play to him if he managed to pull that out of the bag, getting a world title fight.
He's been a favorite fighter of mine for a long time. I have a lot of respect for him and what he did.
I mean, he stretched out Alvarez, definitely, and he definitely stretched Golovkin as well.
Mm-hmm. He's a sturdy fighter, and he also was a fairly decent underdog against Quillen, who he fucking got out of there in a round.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, but I think Mosley's not a puncher. And he's the other side of 30. He's had his chance. It looks to me like they're trying to bring Danny Jacobs back. So maybe, and I agree with you, Matty, there's an awful lot of weight in Danny Jacobs' name. He's got a brilliant backstory. So maybe this show has been built to say Danny Jacobs is back and he's just beating a Mosley. That's how it looks to me.
So if that is the case, and so he's with Eddie, I take it, yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Do you know, right? So, okay,
no, I don't think so.
who, if he's coming back for another run, who could he basically be targeting? I mean, Alvarez, no chance. Benavidez, no chance, I don't think.
I still think...
Morel?
I think that there are definitely holes in Billy's game that a guy who can stay mellow under pressure can absolutely exploit.
But Janabek, would they make 160
at this point? Make 160.
So you look, I mean, so then you'd be looking at Morel, and Morel's hungry, mate. He's looking like he's going to.
I think Morel moved up to 175.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, I thought he was fighting somebody at 175 coming up.
I think with Danny Jacobs' name, as Matty said, and the fact he's a New Yorker, he's from Brownsville. I think if you can get Danny Jacobs a couple of wins, I think maybe an Edgar Belanga's a good fight, an interesting fight.
Yeah.
I don't think he wins it, but I think it's the type of fight that America could buy into. The American public will buy into. What do you think, Matty?
You're right, Matty. Morel's fighting Hot Rod at light heavy for the WBA vacant belt.
Yeah, sorry. What was that question, Des? I was looking for the same information that Andy was looking for right there.
I think someone like Edgar Berlanga, he hits a certain demographic. He's hot. I think Danny Jacobs got a brilliant backstory. He's a New Yorker. I think that's a type of fight. Whereas if we're saying let's bring Danny Jacobs back with a win, let's bring in a Mosley. That's a good name. I think the same all applies for Berlanga. Let's bring in a Danny Jacobs. That's a good name.
He'd also be the right. Well, let me say maybe Berlanga, or maybe for Jaime Munguia to build him back up after the Canelo loss to Benavidez.
That's a perfect comeback fight for Munguia.
I was actually looking at light heavyweight. Actually, if any of you guys would be interested in maybe fighting Wally Hutchison.
Well, he's got to get past Boazzi first, doesn't he?
Oh, is that signed? I thought it was just ordered.
Well, they was going at it the other day at the presser, and I think I mean, I've not been over it this week, but I think that's on the AJ Dubois.
Oh, so that's confirmed. All right, okay. So what is that for? Is that a British title, or is that just something else? Oh, it's a world title eliminator, isn't it?
I would imagine that'd be for some sort of intercontinental or some sort of eliminator, yeah. Because Boazzi's past British level, isn't he?
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, he's at least thought that for quite some time.
Can I ask you something, Andy, about Willie Hutchinson? Like, I was so impressed with his performance against Craig Richards, and I think there's a lot of miles in Willie. Do you think the Buatsi one might be a bit too soon?
I don't know, mate. I think now's the right time, actually, because what he's been doing, well, what he's been fighting, obviously, since the Lennox Clark debacle. We obviously got cut in that fight, but he also, I think, did not get dropped against Lennox.
He had a really bad night against Lennox. That was a bad night. That wasn't representative of Willie, was it? I mean, what we saw against Spider, and I got a lot of time for Spider. I've got a lot of respect for Spider Richards. Spider's a big, strong, capable guy, and Willie took all the play out of Spider and made him look pedestrian that night. Willie had everything. He had variation. He was spiteful. He knew when to go for a walk. He knew how to tie him up. Willie was a brilliant fighter that night. And I'd like Willie to have built on that a bit. And I think there's plenty of light heavies that Willie could have built on that with over the next 12 months. But obviously, this is a big card. There's an awful lot of money involved. They're building, Willie was brilliant on that last Saudi card. So this is part of the Riyadh season. So he's going to jump straight into that one. And why not? But I don't want it to derail Willie's momentum because Buatsi is still a good fighter.
Well, I just noticed there, Des, and this probably kind of maybe qualifies your point a wee bit because it's for the interim WBO belt, so it's an opportunity. So maybe too soon. You've got to take the opportunities, And
the money as well.
Exactly, but Buatsi's in the same boat as well, mate. Because how long have we been saying about Buatsi? About shit, I'll get off the pot.
Oh yeah, this is a hard one for Buatsi. I mean, he can't take his eye off Willie for 1 minute. This is a hard one, and Willie's only going to get better. So I just wondered. I'm going to contradict myself here. I just wondered why Willie didn't wait 2 or 3 fights. But then again, if you're getting put a brilliant number underneath your nose and you're fighting for an interim title on a big show, and this is going to be huge, why not take it? You've got to seize the moment. I totally agree. Yeah, so I understand.
Taylor Denny, Hamza Shiraz on that card as well. I'm seeing here.
Really,
and it looks like, and that's why we were saying, like, I don't want Tyler Denny being derailed because I think Hamza's on his own pathway, isn't he? And I really like Hamza.
That card, Matt. Have you seen this card for Dubois Joshua?
No, is there some good shit on
decent, mate. So you've got Dubois against Joshua, obviously. You've got Liam Smith against Josh Kelly. You've got Taylor Denny against Hamza Shiraz for the European title.
All right.
Anthony Kakachi against Josh Warrington for the IBF and IBO belts.
Oh, yeah, I did see that one, and I hate that fight. Because what has Warrington done to earn that? He's 1-3-1 in his last 5.
But he gives Kakachi that chance as well, eh?
Yeah.
He's coming off that Cardina win, mate. He can take it Josh Warrington. It's decent wins domestically.
I hate that dirty fighting bitch, though.
Yeah, and then you obviously got Buatsi Hutchinson. What you would hope maybe a couple more other fights to go in there with decent, maybe British title levels. Maybe
it's a good card. It's a really good card. I mean, Liam Smith and Josh Kelly's an interesting one. See what Josh has got, what Liam's got left, and what Josh can pull out of the bag. I understand the Warrington and Kakashi one. I really do. I think Anthony done ever so well in his last one, and I think Josh will probably think, well, I'm the bigger name in this, so it's up for Anthony now to sort of turn that one around. I think I really like Anthony in that fight. I think he was absolutely brilliant against Cordina. I think he showed so many facets and so many angles. I think he knew how to turn a fight around. He got off the floor. He punched with the guy. No, I think getting Anthony Kakashi right now is a hard fight.
Yeah, Warrington is usually in decent fights. At least I'll say that.
He's always in good fights.
I just don't like him. Do you know who I do like though? Rob Kelly, who's back joining us again.
Doesn't like me that much. Fucking they set me up fucking great for it.
You've been setting the wings in for about half an hour trying to go on.
He said you got to keep your eye on Willie, and I was like, yeah, like fucking Wandsworth Prison.
Oh, aye.
Fucking anyway, backstage.
I hope she enjoys her stunt in prison, by the way, because she's going to get all the cock she wants.
Well, I'm looking forward to the sequel. Put it that way.
Pay-per-view, baby.
Oh, and you guys are terrible. This is family programming.
Oh shit! Yeah, sorry.
No, it's not. We know better than that. For the love of God, what have we been up to these years? If it is,
what kind of maniac could sit and listen to this with their fucking family? Jesus Christ! Oh my God!
I don't know. Someone who's getting set to lose their family.
Yeah.
And on that sad turn, let's move on here.
He
Let's see
bunts over here. Fuck's sake.
I'll just kill that. I don't know what else is going to be on this this card yet. I might check over on BoxRec, see if I can't find more. But
anyone else love that fucking fight, by the way? Love that Dubois and Joshua fight.
Yeah, but so Rob, you've just stole my thunder there. Perfect. Right, Matty, I know we've got a lot going on, but can we just quickly poll the lads? How do you think the Dubois and AJ fight goes? That's all.
I tell you what, I like Dubois kind of like digging at Joshua by the way, and Joshua by I like that. But I'm kind of wondering if Joshua approaches it like he did against Ngannou. I think he could potentially knock out Dubois actually, but at the same time, if Dubois can cut loose on Joshua, I think he's also got a chance. It is intriguing, but I fancy Joshua to pull it off.
It's a big interest fight, isn't it? Like two heavyweights outside of the water. It's been brewing. The sparring stories back in the fucking mix. There's a bit of needle there between the two of them. I like this version of AJ as well. I always think you should just let Joshua off the leash because you don't know what the fuck he's going to come out with. Like, and he's probably better. I think Eddie was afraid to market him as he is, like as a bit of a fucking loose cannon. Like I think he that's why he came up with the stay humble and you can retrieve what you can. You know,
Carol Fauci's best mate now.
Yeah. Well, that's another story. Look at it. But like, I like this version of Joshua. Just let him off the leash. Like, fuck the fucking PR stunt. Like, he's had his losses now. He's not the fucking. Do you know what I mean? He's not what they said he was. We know that now. But he's still a very good operator. Like, and this is a fucking really good fight. Like, I saw fucking. I think it was Peter Fury or someone saying that they gave Joshua the edge on experience. I do. I think he's going to be a little bit too hot for Dubois, but Dubois showed in the Hrgovic fight he could fucking fight dirty. He can fight ugly. Now there was always question marks about him. Will he jack it? You know, what's his gas tank like? Don't think there's any shame when you see the Fury performance against Usyk in Dubois' performance against Usyk. And I don't think you can tell much by both of their losses against Usyk between Joshua and Dubois who's going to come out on top. I think Joshua will be a little bit too hot for him with the jab and everything. But if Dubois, like I said, has shown that he can do the fucking ugly stuff now, like fight dirty a little bit, use his head a little bit, he's coming along under Don Charles. And I always say this, right, because it's like fucking Rob Kelly roulette, like when Joshua's name is brought up, past six rounds, it always gets ropey. And I like two of them at Wembley, big domestic clash, go past 6 rounds, and then that's when the drama comes in for the neutral, like because you don't know what way it's going to go. Is AJ going to blow a gasket? Is Dubois going to blow a gasket? Both of them have fucking shown vulnerabilities, like, and both of them are big punchers too. Dubois probably maybe a bigger one punch hitter than Joshua, but Joshua's done against a bit of a higher level, but he can fucking punch Dubois, like he can definitely whack. So it makes it really interesting, and the fact that there's a bit of needle between the two of them now, even though Dubois is not a great talker by any stretch, it's making it really interesting for me. Really interesting. It can be a really exciting fight as well.
I think AJ is fragile, and this is Daniel Dubois will be the best opponent AJ's fought since Usyk. So I think Daniel's more cavalier than AJ will be. Me personally, if I was Dubois, I wouldn't let AJ get a foothold in the fight. I'd make it uncomfortable from the very start for Anthony. I'd let Dubois use his size and his power because he has got those things. And we mustn't underestimate the importance of Don Charles in this because Don has known AJ for the last 15 years. And he's had him in the gym. He knows him intimately. He knows the family. I think Don could be a key component in this. Ultimately, I think it's how Dubois starts. If he's proactive, if he's aggressive, if he uses his size, I think we might see. Although AJ's shown improvement under Ben Davison, we've not seen him in with a fighter as good as Daniel Dubois yet.
Now, guys, I appreciate that we withstood all of this, but I think you guys' memories are a little bit short. Do you recall how many right hands Dubois ate off of Hrgovic? I don't know that he can eat that many off of AJ. Remember the right hands he torched Ngannou with? He's gonna have to tighten up. I understand where y'all are coming from, but I reckon AJ to be a bit more of a puncher than Hrgovic to be, and if he can't keep that right hand off of him, he's gonna get fucking blasted.
I've got to assume though that listen, we've noticed that we've all said it. I've got to assume the people in the Daniel Dubois training business will be noticing that too, and that will be their first directive.
Well, how could they miss it? He looked like a fucking bobblehead for the first 6 minutes of the fight.
But he did adjust. He did make slight adjustments. He did double up on his jab. He did make it a little bit less easy for Hrgović to get his right hand off. I'm not saying that.
Hrgović blow his wad?
I heard you. Hrgović fell off a cliff. There was a lot going on, but I'm absolutely certain that the people behind that, Daniel Dubois, will be saying, you cannot let this guy have 3 shots on you. So Daniel Dubois will be aware of that. I'll be straight with you, Matty. I've got more faith in Daniel Dubois' mental toughness than I have Anthony Joshua's, and that's what I think this fight might come down to.
I kind of, and this is going to sound terrible, I kind of think Dubois is a little on the slow side of things. And I could see where you're coming from, and that would help him because he's not going to fucking overthink in a fight. He's just going to kind of do his thing.
And let's be clear, Matty. Everything you said about Hrgović teeing off on Dubois in the first 6 minutes is true. Daniel never folded. Daniel stuck at it. And I'm a believer in you learn from experiences, and I really think the Joyce experience and the Usyk experience has made Daniel Dubois a better fighter, a better character. I think he's got a resilience about him. You'll never, ever see him go down that road again. He's made them choices. He won't do it again. AJ made similar choices against Andy Ruiz. You know, we're dealing with 2 fragile minds here. I just got more faith in Daniel Dubois than I have Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, I guess I can see it, but I don't know. I'm Team AJ. Are you guys going Dubois?
No, I went with Joshua, mate. I think Joshua wins, possibly.
Okay. I don't have a horse in the race in terms of a favourite. I think the Joshua win keeps the Fury fight alive, although I think we're seeing Fury on the way out no matter what. Do we want to see a third Usyk AJ fight? No. Unless he proves to be fucking emphatically different in this next time out. So don't think any of those guys can beat Usyk. Let's see them fucking fight each other. And I wouldn't be crying or whatever if Daniel Dubois pulls off the upset. He fucking deserves his chance. He deserves his second whack at Usyk, or Fury or whatever. But I just think it's a massive fight and anything can happen, and I think it's just going to be exciting. But I do think Anthony Joshua's just a little bit too hot with him. Straight shots down the middle, maybe the uppercut into play. I think Dubois will be there for him, and it's not even that I think, Des say, I don't think he'll quit, but he might get knocked out. But either way, Joshua could get knocked out too. It's a fucking 50-50 fight for me. I can't really call it, but give Joshua the slight edge.
It is a good fight. It's a really good fight. And it is hard. It's a flip of a coin one at the moment.
Yeah, and that's it. If they're putting a good card around it, I'm looking forward to that. So September will be interesting. I don't know how interesting July is going to be, at least off to the start here. We got a card in California at the Toyota Arena, and the undercard is Gunk. Alex Martin, who is now 18-5, taking on Pedro Campa. That one, it actually might turn out okay as far as entertainment goes. Meaningless fight. You got Japheth Lee Yamato against Ryan Lee Allen, who is 10-7-1 at this time. Let's see here. You got a 24-2 Ricardo Rafael Sandoval. Take 24-4 Angel Acosta. That one could be a good one at flyweight. But the main event actually is interesting. William Zepeda taking on Giovanni Cabrera. Why do I think this fight is interesting, gentlemen? Because Cabrera was able to go the distance with Isaac Cruz, and he was, that was a split decision loss. He had a fair argument in that fight. So I think this is a good measuring stick at the very least, Des, to see how William Zepeda and his pressure fighting does against a guy who's already proved that he can befuddle these guys who fight on the front foot with what he likes to do in the ring.
Yeah, and I think Cabrera's had a good run as well. I think he's beaten some very good guys with very good records. The Isaac Cruz was a split. I think Zepeda will beat him. I think Zepeda will be a bit too hot. I think Zepeda is part of that group now. That's just I'm not going to say elite, but he's in a higher echelon of world class. I'm hot on Zepeda. I think he's a really good fighter. I think Cabrera will be a good test for him. I think Cabrera will ask questions of him, but I think Zepeda will. I think Zepeda beats him.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you, if Cabrera gets to the cards, I think that would be an impressive enough feat in itself. But Andy,
he's got good form, Matty. Cabrera's got good form, and he's a good
does.
fighter in his own right. It's just a case of it's not quite Maxi Hughes and Zepeda. It's more than that, but he's a good fighter in his own right. Who's been in with really good company. But against Zepeda, he's going against a very good kid.
Yeah, and Andy, I think if this fight, if Zepeda can make Cabrera fold, I think that considering the opposition Cabrera has had, the performance against Cruz, people are really gonna be barking about Zepeda as the dark horse in the division, the guy that Lucas Matisse used to be at 140, who became a very avoided fighter, and who the fans start to get behind to say, give him these fights. What are you thinking?
But in terms of future fights, Matty,
do you think he'll make Cabrera quit? I think would be the better question.
Well, there's always a possibility. I mean, obviously Cabrera, if I recall his fight against Flores, I mean, Flores was coming off that bad beating off Lopez, I'm sure, and Cabrera's beaten widely. You're right about the Cruz fight. He's put in more and a kind of better showing than what many people expected him to do. But it all hinges on whether Zepeda. I think he does stop him. I think he stops him down the stretch. Whether Zepeda gets a title fight directly off the back is another matter. But I'm just trying to remember. He's a 140 fighter, isn't he? So Zepeda. So
135. 135.
Is he a 35 fighter? Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably going to do that WBO. But I wouldn't be surprised. I'd love to see it. I don't think it will happen. I like to see Zepeda against Lomachenko, but I don't see it happening because of maybe some of the kind of political situations that they're behind. Davis, I don't see that one happening either. Shakur Stevenson's fighting next week as well. I think they've got another plan for him possibly. So again, Zepeda, I think he probably sits on the shelf after his fight until he gets the call, probably for a mandatory defence that goes to purse bids or something like that. So who's branching with again? Actually, is he still with the zone?
That fight was on Top Rank, wasn't it? He fought Navarrete, so I don't know.
But they're keeping Zepeda away from punches as well. So I want to know why they're doing that. Maybe they're just marinating and waiting because time is a big part of it. I do think Zepeda's a very good fighter. I think he's high up on that world class list, but he doesn't seem to fight punches. So it'd be interesting if he gets through this one. What's he like against a puncher?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Rob, do you have any thoughts on this fight?
What fight?
William Zepeda against Giovanni Cabrera.
Zepeda, stoppage.
Going to stoppage, okay. And this one might be more interesting for you there, Rob. But I'm going to start with the undercard and work our way up to the main event here. Let's see here. What do we have going on here? Abdullah Mason is going to be on here against Luis Lebron. That's going to be at lightweight. I've seen Luis Lebron fight Henry Lebron. That was an interesting night. Calvin Davis against Kevin Johnson. Not Kingpin. This is a welterweight contest. William Foster III coming back from his defeat, taking on Erickson Garcia over 10 rounds at 130 pounds. Keyshawn Davis taking on Miguel Medueno. I know you guys know that name. That's going to be a lightweight contest over 10. And then a title fight, Otsuki Foster taking on Robson Conceição, who's getting another shot. He really does give these guys a good run. What are your thoughts on this undercard? We'll go to Des first on this one, and we'll wrap her around.
I like the activity of Keyshawn Davis. I like the level they're keeping him at. I like Medueno. I watched him box a couple of months ago. He beat, I can't think who he beat now. I'll have to look it up. Let's have a quick check. He beat Justin Paldo, and he looked good that night. And I think Keyshawn wins. But I like the activity. I like the level they're keeping them at. They've obviously got high hopes for Keyshawn Davis. Stevenson, it's a win. Otsuki Foster, one of my favourite guys. It's a hard. Someone's going to catch Otsuki Foster out because he's boxing at a good level consistently. He does an awful lot of rounds. I'm not sure it'd be Robson Constantino, although he's a good fighter. I think it's a straight win for the top three, but it'd be interesting to see how Otsuki Foster deals with him.
You know, the problem that Otsuki, I think that he makes is that he is a very good fighter, but he's needed these late rounds heroics to secure these last couple of victories he's had.
And he can't keep just getting over the line though, and and he's being matched tough because I think he was one of these guys that wasn't meant to be there. So they sort of like they offer him a little bit more money and he just goes with it. But I think he's a talent. I think he's a really special fighter. I think he's turned a lot of fighters over as an away fighter. But I think you can't keep just getting over the line. So someone's going to catch him out. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think it'll be Robson, but he can't keep having someone like Foster's got to have. If you're having 3 a year, maybe have a hard one, easy one, hard one. But he seems to have consistently hard ones.
Yeah, this has been a good level of competition. He's gone from Rocky Hernandez to Abraham Nova to Conceição, and all these guys have given other good fighters
they have,
a hell of a night. So, Andy, what are your thoughts on this undercard?
I'm just going through it again just now, mate. It's looking okay as such. I'm interested in the Keyshawn Davis fight because the Mexican actually quite, he's quite weighty, decent power. Yeah, that's the thing. I was just wondering if, I remember Keyshawn's last fight. He kind of like he can ride shots. He can, he does that kind of shoulder roll. Comes back with a straight right hand. Good fighter as well. So I'd be interested to see. And as Des says, he is kept at a certain level at this point, which you need because he needs development fights at this point.
But see, Andy, can you see the difference when a team fancy their fighter? When a team know how good he is, like we're talking about Zepeda now. After 30 fights, I think he's iced about 26 of them. They still won't put him in with a puncher. But with Keyshawn, you're right.
I think that's a big part to do with the promoter, though, Des, because I think Oscar's got a big problem.
Yeah.
Whereas Top Rank always seem to try. Well, they at least try it anyway. They don't always get it right.
Yeah.
They always seem to try and get their fighters the right fights at the right time and match them tough when it matters.
But Maduano is live. He's someone that can really catch you, and I think that's I think it's adventurous. I think it's brave, but I think it says an awful lot about the relationship the promoter and the fighter and the trainer must all have. Say no, because when that name was, they would have put 2 or 3 names on a bit of paper, and they said no, let's have that one. So, I mean, I like that. I like the type of matchmaking.
I take it Matty Foster, Conceição isn't the main event, I take it. So, on that one, I'll just say I'll go Foster on points. Conceição's a decent fighter, but again, he is one he does enough to lose fights or enough to draw a fight. And I fancy Foster. He's done it the hard way again. You talk about guys having to go on the road sometimes. Been to Costa Rica, he took his opportunity over in Dubois against Yubukov. He just went on this incredible run, picked up the title. So you got to give him a lot of respect in that as well. Got it kind of late on his kind of pro career. What is he, 30, 31, 32?
He's got to be around there.
Yeah. So whatever he is, mate, he's a very good fighter, and I think he beats Conceição. I'm not going to say handedly, but I think he beats him on points. He probably start pulling away down the stretch, I think, because I think Conceição, it's always saying he flatters to deceive. He does enough in rounds, but he doesn't do too much. For example, the Valdez fight. The Valdez fight for me was there for him to be won, and he took his foot off the gas too often in rounds and didn't do enough, and it was there for him to win it. So, and I think Foster, with his IQ and his ability to box and just think himself through fights, will be more than enough to beat Conceição, who is a good amateur back in his day, by the way.
Well, especially given the one thing that you can really pick rounds off of Foster with his activity, as Nova proved in.
Yeah, try and press him, but I do think Conceição's got that. He's not the same fight. He's not that type of fighter, mate. Conceição's more your. He is a boxer, mate. But he's not the same kind of. I don't think he's got the aggression as such, to be fair, mate. But it might surprise you tonight. Because to me, this is his last opportunity. This is his third world title fight, I'm sure. Was it Stevenson
Something like
and
that.
Valdez? I think Stevenson was his second title fight. And as I says, I think that's right. Stevenson missed the weight. That's what it was. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, this is his last opportunity. I think, obviously, because he drew with Navarrete and that as well. So this will be his fourth chance. I don't think there's a fifth after this one if he doesn't win it.
Yeah, it's a rough road. We'll see if Conceição can finally put it over the line. He is a former Olympian for Brazil, as if I recollect, as such. But let's get to the main event. Shakur Stevenson taking on Artem Hartunian. Rob, is a guy can a guy named Hartunian beat a guy named Shakur? That's the question.
Shakur sounds like he's fighting in the fucking prequel House of Dragon or something, don't he? What the fuck? Who's this guy? He's fighting one of the Targaryens,
or someone who is related to Jackie Mason's character on Caddyshack 2.
Too niche.
Frank Martin beat this guy on points, I'm sure.
And Hartunian had an argument in that fight. He
got dropped. He got dropped late in that fight, I'm sure. The only time the other fight I've seen was a vicious knockout of that Sammy Molina in Germany. The only two fights I've seen in this guy. Stevenson should have his way with this guy, I think. Depending on what, again, we talked about Lopez last night. Fighting down at a level against it looked like he could have went up a few gears. I think I could see something similar with Stevenson. Rob he was flattered with his last performance. If he comes in doing the same in this fight, it does nothing for his stock. It really doesn't. Yep. So he's got to come in here and look impressive, I think.
Yeah, it's what he's done for me lately, isn't it, with Stevenson? Yep. Like he's shown he's shown that he's in the mold of a like ability wise of a Bud Crawford or an Andre Ward, but like it's fucking putting people to sleep. Like he's not fucking. Do you know what I mean? And that division is wide open for big fights to get made. He's probably on paper, or not on paper, whatever, but just on the eye test, he's probably the best of the bunch. But you can't go out and fucking bore people to tears when Ryan Garcia and fucking Devin Haney and Tank and all these guys, Teofimo, apart from last night, they're providing more entertainment. They're putting more asses in seats, and they've all got real estate in the respective divisions. And Shakur Stevenson, I don't give a fuck how talented he is. Like he has to fucking. It's a touch of the Redondos. Like not getting to that level or whatever. Like, but he has to go and engage, and he has to go through the gears, and he has to look good doing it. If he wants to get himself into big fights, because he can be as good as he wants and sit there with world titles, but the name of the game these days is big fights, big money fights. Now maybe Turkey will have a say in this and start bringing them all together like he's been doing in the higher weights. I could see that maybe happening too. Him taking Ocean and start putting a fucking big money fight together between him and Gervonta down the line. But Stevenson needs to hold up his end of the bargain now and show us all the stuff that he has, and put the fucking exclamation point on the finish as well, and get somebody who doesn't deserve to be in the ring with him out of there.
Yeah, I think Floyd corrupted the market, didn't he, Rob? In that we all see Floyd sort of at the peak at 147, where he was a defensive genius, and he made counter-punch boxing box office. He made it sell, but there was so much more to Floyd. He had that legacy of 4 weight divisions before he got to welterweight. He was a marketing
he had bad
genius.
hands at welterweight too. He had to adjust the style, and that's why he cruised out a lot of those fights. You would have seen him stop a lot of those guys earlier. Like,
and I think he had a lot of marketability. He come at the right place at the right time. The 24/7 shows really fell in love with Floyd and his family, and it worked. But I think for young fighters like maybe Devon or Shakur, they've got to put a bit more work in before they can start taking fights like that. And I totally agree with you. I think Stevenson he's got to put a full stop on this one. He's got to show us how good he is, and he's got to put a little bit behind his shots now, because there's a possibility the wider audience could lose interest in Shakur at the moment.
That's why I kind of think, I know we just talked about him, but I think that William Zepeda is the perfect dance partner for Shakur Stevenson. He or Isaac Cruz. He needs someone who is going to force him to work, who is going to have a chance to cut off the ring, who's going to let their hands go. And in that time, we'll see if he'll fold under the pressure of a good, strong pressure fighter who can keep up with them, or if he can really pull out this other gear that so many people claim he has.
Yeah, I like the Zepeda fight. I think it's a brilliant fight for Stevenson.
Unfortunately, the odds of that happening are bupkis, roughly. But because politics involved, etc. But I don't know. It's Shakur really does need to put in a good performance, I think. And but Rob, I'll say a couple fights ago, he had that victory over the the Japanese fighter, and he stopped him in 4 rounds.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And then he set it up like he was gonna fucking kick on from there and become the main man that people wanted to watch. Like, and then he fucking put everybody to sleep.
Then he retired.
Yeah, and then he retired. And
you don't miss weight though as well.
Garcia's gone in and got himself a ban. He'll be back in a big fight before Shakur Stevenson. Watch.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think a part of that is just Garcia has reasonably interesting fights at times and stuff like that, but he's just the character that he is. I mean, it was, he's had a crazy couple of weeks here for sure. There's no lie about that. But anyhow, anyone have any final thoughts on Shakur Stevenson?
Just needs to step it up, really. That's really what he's got to do. He's got to shit and get off the pot now. As Rob says, I mean, Davis, Loma, he mentioned Garcia if you want. He obviously with the drug test and that, but at least have taken risks and fought some of these top guys. And Stevenson's still kind of like fluttering on the fucking sidelines here, eh? It's about time he stepped up and fought some of these guys.
I just wish these boomers would stay retired, But anyhow, also there's going to be a card from Japan, which I believe is going to be going on the very morning that before we get this kicked off. Actually, probably afternoon for you. Going to have a title unification between Francisco Martinez and Kazuto Ioka. I think that this is a really high-level fight. Absolutely looking forward to this one. Andy, what are your thoughts on this one? I mean, this is back-to-back weeks with big, meaningful super flyweight fights.
You talking to me, Matty?
Yeah, I said Andy.
Oh, mate, I've had a disaster there. I've had a fucking disaster. I went to go open my bottle of whiskey and my fucking cork has snapped in the fucking neck of the bottle. I am fuming right now.
Oh, I'm gutted for you.
Fucking raging, man. I'm going to get my Swiss Army knife out, mate.
Okay, I know you. I know.
What fight we're talking about here? I am fucking...
trying to MacGyver his way into a bottle of whiskey on the Sunday.
I'm MacGyvering myself.
Hold on, Andy. I'm going to send this over to Des, and I'm going to give you a chance to compose yourself.
Come on. Right. Yes, I got
it. So, Des, give me your thoughts on this, and then Andy will know what we're talking about.
Well, before we do that, Andy, have you seen a new type of cork you can buy now? Where it's like a needle that goes in and the air pressure, and you can never ever break your cork in a bottle again.
All right.
I'll send you a picture. Yeah, my son bought me one for Father's Day. They're ingenious. Right. Sorry, Matty. What's the question, mate? I do apologize.
And we're back to square one. Francisco Martinez against Kazuto Ioka, Japan, Sunday.
I don't know much about that one, Matty. I'm going to have to take your lead on that.
Oh man, here we are. So Martinez, he kind of came out of nowhere. I'm trying to think. Didn't he beat Sherwin and Cajas to pick off his title originally? If I'm thinking correctly, he's just he's a savvy fighter. He's not the biggest puncher, but he really puts them together. Very balanced. It's hard to turn him and put him out of position. But I mean, Ioka is just such a stellar fighter. He's been in big fights so many times. The moment's not going to get to him. The question for me is, has Ioka had one too many fights? He's been in a lot of vicious fights, and yeah, he's come out on top in the vast majority of them. But how many is too many at this point in time? I wonder. But this is an exceptional fight. Andy, are you back together again?
Dude, I'm just putting fires out of a place. I've saved the day, mate. I fucking got an empty bottle of whiskey and took the fucking cork out of that one. And day saved. So what was the question, mate? What was the question?
We're talking
Genuinely, what was the question? I did not hear a word what you said, mate. I had to disappear.
We're talking about Ioka and Martinez, for the love of God.
Ioka against Martinez Sunday. I won't see it, but I will definitely try and catch up with it. Try to remember it. Obviously, I make Ioka the favourite. Obviously, Martinez has got the 2 wins against Cajas, which, by the way, I think we said for long enough that Cajas was probably rated as one of the lesser champions at that weight at that point. But at the same time, it's a decent enough fight. I just don't think Martinez has possibly got the experience and the power to deal with Ioka. Ioka's, even though he's in the back end of his career, mate, he's looking phenomenal just now, to be fair as well. Maybe the Franco draw on that as well was a bit of a kind of black mark, but he did look good against Nietes. And again, another one who's got a decent resume. So it's a big ask for Martinez to go all the way to Japan to do this, but I fancy Ioka. I suspect he wins. I'm going to say he does it with late stoppage.
Late stoppage. Okay. All right. Now do you have enough information, do you think, to make an informed opinion, Des?
Well, Ioka's one of the dominant champions of Superfly, isn't he? So I don't know much about Martinez. I'm looking at his resume now. 16 wins, no losses, 9 by KO. So he's a capable operator. He's a world champion himself. Look, you have to be a very, very good kid to beat a Japanese champion in Japan. So if I had to go with someone, I'm going to go with Ioka, purely because he's the home fighter, he's the promoted fighter. And I think he's got a lot more experience than Martinez. But it's a good fight. It's a genuinely good fight.
And the books have Martinez as an underdog, but only slightly.
Rightly
He's just
so,
paying a smidge over even money at this point in time. Rob, I know you don't usually have many thoughts on the little guys. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Tony Ioka's young fella's fighting. Having a shot. I couldn't tell you if I've seen these guys. I probably very rarely watched fly or super flyweight boxing before Andy's influence, and he started talking about Chocolatito. That weight division, you could put a gun to my head and I wouldn't know who the fucking champion was for the last 30 years. So I'll pass on that one, dude. What was the question again?
Matty, just on what I've just studied, looking at Martinez, I'm going to think Ioka wins that on points.
On points. Okay.
What do you think?
I think that this is sorry. I'm leaning towards a draw. I'm actually leaning towards a draw on this one. I think that Martinez has more than most people are going to expect. He's a decent fighter. Franco came in there and he was able to pick a draw off of Ioka in their first affair, and I wouldn't be shocked if this one winds up a draw as well. I actually think I'm gonna put a few bucks on the draw on this one.
Your fucking predictions. You're the Battle Jack of boxing predictions. You've always got a draw on you.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say that I typically draw with the house.
and what, the winner fights Bam?
I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's how you do it, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Bam against who? Sorry,
against the winner of this fight.
Aye. I mean, that's what Bam was talking about. The winner of this fight, he's wanting Ioka.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think that's how we bring it all together. I think Bam's a standout in division, and Ioka is a dominant champion in that division. So the winner of Martinez, Ioka. Let's bring him over and fight Rodriguez, or send Bam over to, if it's Japan, send Bam over to Japan.
I'm wondering, Matty, what weight are you expecting this to be at? Bantamweight, yeah?
No, this is 115. They're all.
No, I'm saying if Bam was to face Ioka, I mean, would we be expecting Bam to go up to 118 to face him?
No, Ioka's a 115.
No, Superfly.
I thought Ioka was up at Bantamweight.
No.
Is it not?
No.
All right, I must have got that wrong. Who am I thinking about at 118 then? Nakatani, that's who the fuck it was. I was talking about Nakatani earlier on there.
Yeah, you was, yeah.
Fucking hell.
And that, I'll tell you what, that's a fight that's a shame it never happened.
He's after getting in it.
It's a shame that Ioka against Nakatani never happened. That would have been a good fight.
Just the weight that kind of really bollocks that fight, I think.
Well, wasn't Nakatani at 112 and he just skipped 115?
He had to, mate. He was massive. What is he? Like something like 5'7" or something like that, mate.
He is massive. So, but yeah,
Nakatani Plaza, they call him.
Oh man. So yeah. Anyhow, I guess this week I'm gonna have to give a value of the week to myself. Because we really didn't get the value of the week together this week. Jay has been helping to compile it. He's a member. Jay's a member of the Jay's a member of the Nutters group, and he's actually on a student exchange in China right now. And I'm worried. I'm worried that maybe he's been like imprisoned or something. And I assure you guys,
will we start a GoFundMe for him if he has?
Jay Slater.
It was close to it, but I did not say that he's a Uyghur. You were close, but no, it was with
if he was a Uyghur, then he's fucked. He's fucked.
Yeah,
but
no, he's not. If China's listening,
I can tell you this much: he's safe in the knowledge that he won't be listening to us tonight because YouTube's banned in China. So he's got no internet connection. He's getting full. I've been there. He's getting followed by the secret police, so that type of stuff. Great bunch of lads, as Rob says. You'll enjoy it. Great, brave new world, by the way. We've got out there waiting for us.
Dude, if they give me Soma and I just get to have crazy anonymous sex in crazy rooms, like in the like in Brave New World, that's all right. Soma sounds awesome. Wouldn't you guys take the Soma and get just chill all the time?
What's that?
Have you actually never read Brave New World or?
No.
Okay. Anyway,
cartoon. If no, I didn't read them.
No, it's Aldous Huxley. Anyhow, so and I guess another value of the week for me there for assuming that Andy has read Aldous Huxley, and I guess I'll give you guys all value of the week nomination for not paying a lick of fucking attention in the last 15 minutes. Also, I'll throw in one.
It was you talking. So
it's 10:30 at night out here, Mike.
Also, I'm going to give one for Ryan Garcia for his continued antics and all the bullshit around him. He was seen playing celebrity poker, and he appeared like he was on some sort of an upper to me, but no one will either confirm nor deny that.
Quaalude.
God, wouldn't it be great if they brought back Bloods? Anyhow, Andy, do you got any nominees
this week?
Yeah.
Well, I need to go and pull up the details, mate. Just give me a wee second here, but I'll probably need to fire one in for the judge last night. What was his name?
No, remember, we're going to do the Adelaide Bird.
The Adelaide Bird one, right?
Week, yeah.
We're doing that route, right? Okay, mate. I posted one in the chat there, actually. There was a heavyweight fight last week between two debutants in Detroit. Anthony Pupulo, I think, against Christian Rodriguez. This Christian Rodriguez guy, I swear to God, go and click on the mic. I'll just click on the link in the chat there, Matt, if you somehow can get it in for us. This guy must be 350 bills. I kid you not. This guy is Yokozuna type levels of fatness, by the way. There we go. Get a search of that boy. Absolutely outrageous, man, how that gets to fucking fight in a professional boxing ring and get that put on box rec anyway, but fucking hell.
I need to get somewhere I can clip these video content from Twitter. Oh my God.
I can't believe it's not Butterbean.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put this link in the chat for anyone who wants to see this. This
one for Ryan Garcia as well. I thought the moxie of this guy, man, it's like, how's he getting allowed? Is it just me, or does it feel like that guy was getting, basically getting to negotiate his ban? He got to give, pay a fine and get a 9-month ban, whatever and stuff like that. Should that money not be gone to Devin Haney, for example, as well? He's the one that's probably been damaged by that fight.
He's going to sue him.
Well, there's that as well, aye. But he's been damaged by that fight potentially as well, So fucking dude needs to get that. Needs to be basically asking questions anyway. Try to remember
that ban doesn't matter a fuck to him because he only fights once a fucking year anyway.
Yeah,
so
it's ridiculous what's going on
for the year. He'll drink and gamble. He'll fucking go impregnate a few OnlyFans models, marry him, divorce him, turn to God again, and he'll be back in fucking 9 months' time in a big fight like before Shakur Stevenson.
I think he's
some fucking money man. Like.
I think he said he's dating Iggy Azalea, or however you say that fucking Australian name with the big.
Rob, he's coming overweight. He's not made the weight, which is a liberty.
He's popped for PEDs. He's won the fight. He's enhanced his own brand. He's reduced Devin Haney's brand, and he's going to have a year out, which is pretty much one fight for Ryan. And when he comes back, he'll probably get an extortionate amount of money because there's a circus factor to Ryan Garcia, and we all know he's a good fighter anyway. So this hasn't harmed Ryan Garcia in any way, shape, or form. And when you see how Ryan's dealt with this, and how I'm not saying he got away with it, but how he just held his hands up, said, "Go on, yeah, I'll take it." It makes the Conor Benn situation even more laughable. And how bad that's been handled, doesn't it?
Because he could have gone on and done fucking Baden in Tears, done a Piers Morgan interview and said, I fucking at the Hammy and Bohemian Grove, I kind of shit too much, you know what I mean? But he was like, fuck that, they I see with Donald Trump and then I popped hot, you do the math, and all his fans are like, yeah, fucking right, you know what I mean?
But I don't want to go back on that again, but I'll just say quickly, if Barry Hearn is saying we could have done things differently, and Eddie Hearn said there's been some mistakes made, and Frank Smith saying we've spent too much time on this, if that's what they're saying publicly, what are they thinking of saying privately? I mean, this has been a monumental balls up, isn't it?
Do you think they don't care now, though, that they got the Curiel shake money? Like,
I think that's been a game changer for them. I think the landscape has changed.
Before that, they had to solely concentrate on the zone. Yeah. They had to bring through a zone fighter. They had to have a domestic UK guy. Yeah. AJ's gone cold. Conor Benn was he was the man when he was making his speech about his heated seats, and everybody believed him, and then he popped hot, and everyone was like, and it was a farce of a fight to begin with. Nobody wanted it, and they ended up with so much egg on their face that they had no choice but to back him. Like, whereas now, I think if they had already had that Curiel shake money, they would have said, "I see you, Conor Benn. See you 2 years, pal." Do you know what I mean?
And I think the financial landscape definitely changed for them, isn't it? I'd like to know what the financials for the Eubank and Ben fight, which they was pushing so hard. I wonder how that compares to what Eddie's doing now with a 5v5 and Dubois and AJ and all that stacked card. So I think the financial landscape, Rob, like you said, has definitely changed.
Probably two other ones for me, Matty, would be the Anthony Joshua kind of like flexing against Daniel Dubois after Daniel Dubois decide he's going to stand up for himself and give him a bit of chat back. And one, I think the last one for me would be one for UCAD. They issued a 4-year ban against a boxer called Moses Caleros, who got beaten 4 rounds, I think it was, against Galali Fai for cocaine. Right? So as I says, you got Ryan Garcia kicking about here for fucking drugs, getting 9-month bans, and you got a guy here who's got a 4-year ban. However, Matty, it's not the reason that UCAD gave him a 4-year ban that's the issue. The issue is the guy died back in March. And UCAD issued the guy with a 4-year fucking ban. And I actually retweeted their initial tweet for like the ban, and they fucking deleted it. So they've had to walk it back. The BBC carried it. So yeah, one for UCAD, mate. I thought it was hilarious. It was because it rhymes back to the days. Remember, it was WBO or WBO had a fighter who died and had them ranked in the rankings for like 2 months afterwards or something. I forget his name. Anyways,
good joke, wasn't it? I was like, now that he's dead, maybe they could consider having the ban.
Well, he's going to surf every fucking day. That ban, I can tell you that.
That was a ridiculous ban, though. You're right in what you're saying. Like, if he takes if he does a bit of a Scarface on the night before a fight, he's not putting himself in a position where it's performance enhancing. Where Ryan Garcia was putting all. Ryan Garcia came to the ring looking like he was jacked, over the weight by 3 pounds, looking like fucking G.I. Joe. Smashed Devin Haney up, and then going to take the ban. He'll be back next year. Like,
and what's fucked up is you're like looking at his antics, and you're like, I swear to God, that guy's on cocaine.
Oh, like one more. Sorry. I'll give this one to Anthony Joshua for the response to Carol Froch. Carol Froch, absolutely. As the years have went by, I'm actually getting to appreciate him more, actually, because he's a top fucking troll, and he's getting everybody to bite on him, by the way. And the way he fucking got Joshua to bite on it, I think Johnny Nelson's now come out and says something along the lines is that Joshua took the bait. You should know what Carol Froch is like. And I must admit, Carol's got one of the dry sense of humours, but he's also. That's smarmy way he puts it across. He can draw you into the point as you become a bit of a hater about him. So I've begun to appreciate that a wee bit. So he's just dangled the carrot, man, and fucking pulled him in.
I'm going to say something controversial. I think Carl Froch has stole his good friend Russ's padder. He takes a lot of cues from Porky Russ. Carl Froch does, like a lot of his content and stuff is coming from fucking Russ and that, like. But he's just got an opinion.
Top.
But his opinion is winding Joshua was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. The interaction, I loved it too. I have to say, like Froch over the years has wound me up for different. But as a fighter, can't be questioned. His resume can't be questioned. His legacy can't be questioned. And yeah, he's giving it a right go on YouTube. I really enjoyed him. Like he's good value. Like he got AJ hook, line and sinker.
He's even got the wife on it for eye candy, stuff like that.
She does be cracking up laughing in the background and all. She's like Prime Wellington.
She's just like feeding the bullets and that, or just loading them into the gun and the Froch will fire them for no problem.
He said he had a pop at his nose as well, Joshua did. He's obviously in WhatsApp going, shut your mouth, Gonzo.
What about the onion rings, you cheap bastard? Ryanair flights and whatever.
Ryanair flights to the wedding and I'm not paying for the onion rings.
There's Joshua flying to like Saudi Arabia on private jets with like a cash, man, that only Froch could actually even dream about. Fucking hell. It's all about levels, man, isn't it? It's all about levels, as Froch.
That's two in a row, though. Now he's after getting on fucking stilts. Like he's got John Fury and he's got Joshua with the bite. Like who's going to be next to get a fucking
Frank? I think Frank will get it next. I think.
Frank doesn't give a fuck about it though. He goes to town on it. He comes out with a notebook and everything.
Oh, but Frank cares because Frank calls him Carl Frock.
Amazing.
Yeah, that I think that Groves fight still sticks in Frank's craw a little bit, huh?
That was Eddie's fight, was it not?
That was what the. You might be
the
right.
Froch Groves fight. Froch Groves fight was like
no,
Eddie's
Eddie,
fight.
that's what put Eddie on the map, sure.
See that? See that? Matty, see that result in the first fight? That was what really catapulted Matchroom into being the leading boxing promotion in the UK for like how many years it was, or whatever it was, till Frank got his shit together again, eh?
Yeah.
Because I think Coogan came on the podcast and says they lucked out with that one because taking it to Wembley was a massive fucking gamble, mate. They didn't think it was going to do 80,000.
The two of them have done just such a good job of selling it. Groves and Froch. They'd never seen somebody mind games Froch before. Ward beat him with one hand, but he didn't give him much in the. He's Andre Ward's a bit of a mope, like, isn't he? He just stuck the character in the press run, and he didn't give really Froch the engagement he was looking for, so he couldn't rattle him. And then Groves rattled Froch. We'd never seen that before, and he was tripping over his words, and you could see it had got to him in the fight. But I knew Groves was toast when he came in for the rematch on the London bus. I said, this fella's fucking gone, man. Oh God, I backed him in the first fight. I was like, he's getting knocked out tonight. Like, what's he doing there?
Well, Rob, while you're talking there, do you have any nominees this evening?
No, I was going to nominate Joshua as well. I like this from Joshua though. I like that they're letting him off the fucking leash a little bit, and he's not the fucking PR robot that he was before. Because I think that was too much pressure on him. I think if you let him be himself, he'll probably be a better fighter, and it makes for more entertaining content. Like, don't talk to me like that, Daniel. Dash this chair off your face, Don't tolerate disrespect, Daniel. That's why he kept on calling him Daniel. It was amazing. So yeah, I would have given it to Joshua for a stellar week this week.
All right. Well, you guys kind of remember everything that was up there. Maybe I should have been writing it all down, but Ryan
Joshua
Garcia,
gets it for me.
Joshua gets it for you, despite Ryan Garcia and his many appearances. Who are you going for, Rob?
Yeah, it's got to be AJ. Ryan is like, he's at it, like, isn't he? So if we're going to start fucking nominating him for his antics, he's going to be on it every week. Like, but don't rule him out being on it again next week.
Well, I mean, how many months did we go on with Big John or Gad, et cetera, et cetera? I don't know. Should we keep Ryan out, or does that feel like
right? It's fucking Ryan's world. We're just living in it. You know what I mean?
No shit. Yeah, I'll go with Ryan just for kicks, but we can go ahead and give it to AJ there. Anthony Joshua, you are the Bellew of the Week winner for this week. Now we're going to go on real quick to a segment I'm going to do. I only got a couple this week, but I'm sure we'll have more here and there. But we're going to do something I like to call Voices from the Basement, where I have invited some of the nutters to get their words in on the weekend if they care to.
Oh, dear.
So let's see here. First one, and I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong. This is Marcin is how I see it spelled, but he's Polish. I think it's Martin is how it is said, but this is his thoughts on the weekend.
Hey everyone. everyone. First, I want to say a big thank you for the great work you guys do on this podcast. Keep it up. And in terms of fights, how good did Ramirez look? That KO was spectacular. I am very excited that him and Espinoza, who also looked great, fantastic, in his win last weekend, they'll probably do it again this year. I mean, their fight last year was personally my fight of the year and also the surprise of the year. So I am looking forward to them fighting again, and given how good they looked, it should be another great fight.
Fantastic. And we definitely were in agreement on that. And then we also got one from the man himself, Mr. Joe Kennedy.
Hey, Maddie, just a quick one on the Dilmagani fight, which I saw last night. Showed me the dangers of online betting, really, in-play betting more so, because having watched the first 2 or 3 rounds of that fight, I would have been lumping it on Dilmagani to stay out of range and use his knee footwork and nice turns to pick apart Tellez, but the warning signs were there. He got caught at the end of
There, Matty, he beat himself.
They're going back home and doing at domestic level, because these kind of Mexican brawlers are a dime a dozen, you know. So if you can't get past the Tellez of the world, you'd fear from. Thank you. Good luck.
I'm sorry there was a little cutout there. That was an odd time for me to have to sneeze. But we did what we had to do there. So anyways, hopefully we get a few more next week, but that's thoughts from a couple of the boys in the chat. If you would like to join, we'll also have a new season of the Boxing Nutters Prediction League kicking off here. I think Matt Butters might have won it this last time around. I believe he might have sealed it shut with this last weekend. If so, congratulations to Mr. Matt Butters, one of our favorites in the group there. Very proud of you, buddy. And we look forward to the next one. You can join at patreon.com/boxing asylum, and we'll get you in the chat and in with all the fun and all the boys. We have a good time in there, good chats. Today they were definitely talking about the football that is going on, but that's another day for another podcast. Now, the Adelaide Bird boxing official of the week. I'd like to do a dual nomination, because they were the 2 wide cards for Patricia Morse-Jarman and Dave Moretti for their 97-93 cards in the Andres Cortez Abraham Nova fight, in a fight that the vast majority of people thought Nova won. They found a way to only give him 3 rounds. So that one, I'll have to nominate them. Andy, you got anyone?
Just that judge, mate, that or judges, sorry, at that fight last night. To get their names, sorry, I didn't.
Let me.
I'm going here. So yeah, 57-56, Javier Camacho, and 56-56, Robert Tapia, who had a draw in the Rodriguez fight against Estrada. Absolute disgrace. I thought. Again,
the only round you could really give Estrada was the one he knocked
Bam down
in.
That's it. That's the only one you could give him. I mean, he had his moments during some rounds, but he didn't have the exclamation at the end of it, and it was always Rodriguez's fight to lose. So yeah, the judges. So Robert Tapia for his draw card, and the one for shitface. What's his name?
Javier Camacho.
Javier Camacho, 57-56.
Yeah, we'll do that one in there for sure. Javier Camacho. Rob, do you have an official who's pissed you off this last couple of weeks?
Not really. We should have one that's really fucking raised my spirits. There was a fight in Peru. I'm sure it's a Team Boxeo number as well. It's going around in the group chat there. And premature stoppage ish. And the fighter who gets stopped has a look around the ring for a second and then walks across and clocks the referee. And then the referee has to think about it and fucking runs across the ring and fucking clocks him one back. So fucking good beard from the referee and a good right hand counter as well. Over the fucking shoulder. It was pure McGregor post fucking Nurmagomedov or whatever the fuck it was. Frantic scenes in the ring then as they tried to get the referee out. Like amazing. And the corner seconds didn't really fucking clock what was going on either side. They're all kind of scratching their heads like, he just fucking punched the ref. Oh shit, the ref is back at him. So you dream of nights like these, Matty, but very rarely do they happen.
Damn it. Well, hopefully we can get a clip of that one for next week, because that sounds pretty good. We'd like to actually check that one out. So we'll say it's going to be Mr. Camacho with his card favoring Juan Francisco Estrada. last night up against the dual cards of Patricia Morse-Jarman and Dave Moretti in Andres Cortez, Abraham Nova. Who would you go for, Andy?
I don't know, mate. I've never seen the fight.
Well, we'll have to go with we'll go with Camacho for the sake of argument then.
Right, okay.
All right, you win this week because what the fuck were you watching? Anyhow, so it has been a heck of a week, and I would like to thank Dez, Andy, and Rob for all coming on with us. Remember, as I said, we'll have a new season of that Boxing Nutters Prediction League. All you got to do is hop into the Patreon group, and we can give you the rest of the info on that one. We're going to be back next week, all except for Andy. Andy's going to be wandering off on holiday, hopefully having a wonderful time. But the rest of us will be back here with you. I believe Dom will be back with us for sure. But you folks have yourselves a fantastic week ahead, and we will see you on the next edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to and move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking skin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. 7-year ain't. I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.